Welcome to TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John, that's my co-host and commentary Ashton, and I invite you to ease your seat back, relax, and listen to us for the next several hours. Catch up on WWE, because it's catch-up commentary. We're going to be recapping the last 2 weeks of Raw, SmackDown, 205 Live, and we're even going to have a little bit of NXT UK in the discussion. Should be an interesting commentary, to say the least. Ashton, how you feeling?
Oh, I gotta tell you, I'm digging your radio voice right now. It's making me feel all kinds of things. I love it.
Absolutely. You know what, man? Look, I just realized neither one of us really likes this because we don't really like what WWE's putting out at most. I'd say SmackDown's been better than Raw. I think you'd agree with that on the whole.
Yeah.
But, man, I'm just really thinking, like, how many different ways can you say that you hate the same thing? So I'm just like, let's just all be chill. We all at least enjoy each other, if nothing else. And there are bright spots here and there. We were even kind of talking about them before the show. We were ordering the structure that we're going to be talking about things. So I want you guys to just sit back, relax, and just hear our opinions. And that's really all they are, our opinions. If you come away with this being like, man, screw those guys, they don't know anything. I mean, lies and slander, but cool. And if you come away and you think, man, those guys really have the finger on my pulse, well, then, we're glad to have you. So, Ashton, how have you been feeling about WWE programming these last few weeks?
Pretty down on most of it, and we say that SmackDown's been better, but I wouldn't say by any significant margin anymore. I think if we would have done a catch-up commentary 2 weeks ago, like going into Clash of Champions, I would have been like, man, SmackDown's really been blowing Raw out of the water lately. But the last couple episodes of SmackDown have been kind of underwhelming, and the last couple episodes of Raw have been a little tiny bit better than they had been before. Just because there's a little bit more interesting stuff going on. But at the end of the day, I'm not really excited about anything going on in WWE right now, and that's even including the NXT product. NXT hasn't really got me super excited for anything either right now.
Yeah, NXT's in a really weird place, man. I'm not vibing with it, like I used to. I just feel like it used to be the place where it was almost like, it's funny because I think NXT used to be a place, and you'd hear it too, because we'd listen to commentators like Just Alex and others, where it's almost like they'd forget that NXT is a part of WWE, and with good reason, just because the quality of their product was so different. And now, like, it's very obvious that it's assimilated with, like, the WWE brand. It always was. Right. But I feel like the quality lately, it's like people no longer...
It's starting to feel more and more part of that homogeneity.
Exactly. See, there, look at you. That's perfect. So yeah, I'm just kind of meh on all of it. And you know what I think? It's paradoxical because we obviously win when there's good wrestling. So we've been winning with like the G1 recently.
Yep.
5 Star's been great. Obviously Stardom's hit some hard times. I hate the Jungle's injured, and stuff like that. But where it's bad, because we're not just wrestling fans, we go the extra mile and we do commentary. We are part of the YNTWC. That is Twitch Wrestling Community for the uninitiated. You should check out our Twitch streams. We did one recently this past Friday. We're going to do one this Monday for part 2 of the draft. So because we're commentators as well, when we see good wrestling, I think it magnifies our ennui, our disinterest with the bad wrestling, which is why we're here. So it's just really a disheartening place for WWE because aside from a few performers and a few angles, and really too, I've got to be honest, I would never speak for Ashton, but I even told him before we went live, speaking out, I think has like fundamentally altered my relationship with American wrestling. It feels weird almost vibing with it these days outside of the people and the angles that I really like, because I know too much, like it's like Cornette used to say about exposing the business originally. You can't get the toothpaste back in the tube. That's kind of where I am, where I know a lot of these performers, how they are in their private lives, and I can't make that distinction anymore. So, like, a lot's just really been sullied for me, to be honest, and I've just really taken a lot of gratification and refuge in Japanese wrestling. So that's kind of where WWE is with me at present.
Yeah, God, and it's also kind of discouraging when you think about, like, maybe the only reason that we don't know about all this stuff for Japanese wrestling is because we don't speak the language and it isn't as heavily covered here in the U.S. So, like, maybe Japanese wrestling has its own version of speaking out that we just don't know about, and we're just, like, enjoying the hell out of it in ignorance.
And, dude, that very well could be. I mean, I think this could also get into a finer, like, socio-political discussion about, like, how speech is handled and stuff like that and how
Yeah.
certain movements are framed,
Yeah.
sociologically speaking. But obviously, this is not the podcast for that. And unfortunately, I can't reference you guys to any podcasts for that. So let's just get into our discussions, man. What would you like to talk about first tonight?
You know what, though? The fact there aren't any podcasts for that, maybe we need to become that podcast.
I mean, I guess we could just merge it with everything else. I mean, we already do everything else, so, I mean, why not?
I mean, we're already like the only leftist wrestling podcast, right?
I mean, that we know of. And if we are, or if we aren't, I should say, other people really need to start being more vocal about it. But yeah, what do you want to open the night with, man?
I like to do things in chronological order, but in this case, I think I'd like to go from, like, let's just get the easiest stuff out of the way first. And 205 Live is far and away the easiest thing that we have to cover because the 10-2 episode, the one that happened not yesterday, but the Friday before yesterday, was literally just the entire show was a takeover build-up, literally just an entire episode of 205 Live dedicated to showing the feud between Swerve and Escobar. So that was the entire episode. There were no matches, there were no other angles. It was just a full episode of 205 Live dedicated to hyping up Santos defending the Cruiserweight title against Swerve.
Just to ask out of curiosity, did they show any of the old matches in full, or was it just like footage and interviews and all that stuff?
No, yeah, it was literally just a recap.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, the match certainly delivered. I think that feud is definitely a golden moment for.
Hell, that was my favorite match on TakeOver, personally.
Oh, agreed. Definitely, that was superb. That was absolutely superb. So, what about the week after then?
This week, it seems interesting because Jake Atlas beat Arya Daivari via disqualification due to Tony Nese interference. So Tony Nese came out. And this is the more intriguing one to me. Ashante Adonis defeated Brian Kendrick via pinfall.
I actually saw this, if you can believe it. I saw in my recommended a video, Ashanti versus the Brian Kendrick. Good for Ashanti. I'm always happy with new acts being pushed. I know we really liked him. I do have the pickiest of nits, however. He finished him with a super kick called the Sweet Kiss Goodnight, and it looks good. Everything he did was fine. Kendrick's obviously consummate professional. It's more of a meta nitpick, really, because I on one hand, I can appreciate a super kick being a finish, but super kicks are one of those moves that I think have lost all value in current wrestling. So, I don't know. It's just going to be weird to say if Brian Kendrick sells this guy's super kicking and gets beat by it, but if he's in a really competitive match and he gets super kicked at one point, but it keeps going, that's just going to, hit weird. So I think it's always a gamble when you have as a finisher a move that I think has just been so diluted by everybody around you. It's really what I'm trying to convey here.
Yeah, I do definitely see your point. I think I've almost gotten desensitized to super kicks as finishers in WWE, though, because for the longest time, the Usos were winning with super kicks. Carmella won with super kicks for a while. Fucking Rusev used to win with super kicks all the time. Like, it's almost become commonplace where... and I think Ziggler has even won with super kicks. It's like, it's become commonplace that some people can win with super kicks. Not many can, but some can. It just depends on how good you are at it, I guess.
That's a fair counterpoint. All right. Enough said. I'm good. Do you have anything you want to add, though? Because I know you broached this. Are you feeling good about Ashanti being pushed? Or
I'm really excited about Ashante, man. When he came out to, I believe it was Swerve that he helped, actually. I don't know if it was this past week or the week before on NXT. I was really excited about that. And we're not going to be covering NXT here because we did live react to both of the episodes of NXT. So if you're interested in our thoughts, go back and check those out, people. But yeah, I was really excited when Ashante got an opportunity to really kind of step into an actual program on NXT TV.
Yeah. I like that they're doing things with him. I don't know.
And really the prospect of him teaming with Swerve is really exciting to me.
Definitely. I gotta be honest, the Swerve Escobar match was so good. I would still like Swerve to ultimately be the next Cruiserweight champion. Again, if they do a TakeOver Mania weekend, I just need that match one more time with Swerve going over, and I'd honestly think you'd have a contender for Feud of the Year, honestly. I've really enjoyed their work together. But yeah, Shanti getting pushed. Nothing but net as far as this guy is concerned. So I'm curious to see what they do with it next. So,
Yeah.
All right, moving on from that. Do you want to just talk about NXT UK and then we can get to our two main shows here?
Yeah. Let's talk about NXT UK. It's a shame Chiefin isn't here because I know he's a huge fan of NXT UK. But last week on October 1st, NXT UK, we got a wild card qualifier, and it was originally like a mystery match. Like we knew it was a three-way, but we didn't know who was in it. It turned out it was Kenny Williams, Ashton Smith, and Amir Jordan. And the interesting twist on this is that Kenny Williams and Amir Jordan are tag team partners. So they kind of double teamed Ashton Smith at first. Eventually, they started going against each other, as we know always happens in triple threats involving tag team partners. But at the end of the day, Kenny Williams ended up pinning Ashton Smith in just under 10 minutes. So Kenny Williams won the wild card. He's going to be in the wild card tournament, I think is what it is.
I believe you're right, because I know they're doing some kind of Heritage Cup, right, or something.
That's a different thing, though. That's a different thing. The Heritage Cup is already like almost done, actually.
Okay. Then yeah, I honestly wouldn't know. I'm gonna trust you on that though. Like
hey, I see Mark is here, and now Abel's here too. Good to see you two.
Welcome, Abel. Wonderful to see you. All right, what came after this then?
So then, again, sticking to last week, we got a bunch of vignettes for Ginny, and then Zaya Brookside, and then Eddie Dennis. And then we got a recap showing Mark Andrews being attacked before the lockdown, because literally nobody knows who even did it. Even to this day, it's been like 6+ months, and we still don't know who the fuck attacked Mark Andrews. And then we get an interview, Flash Morgan Webster, saying that his Heritage Cup match with A-Kid will be his way to get 2020 back underway. And then we get our second match of the night, Ginny versus Zaya Brookside. And Ginny does win. She submits Zaya with a modified STF. And afterwards, she cut a promo saying that she's fed up with playing nice, that we haven't seen the best of her yet, and that she's going to become the queen of NXT UK.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen Ginny in so long, but every time we've watched her, I do like her. I think she's got a great look. I've enjoyed her in the ring. I didn't want to come in completely ignorant, so I have the wiki pulled up of the NXT UK Women's Championship. And because I was wondering myself how long Kaylee Ray has been champion. Dude, they have her recorded as 407 days plus as women's champion. She is the division right now.
Well, and to be fair, you've also got to take into account that 180 or so of those days are literally just she couldn't defend the title because of lockdown.
That is fair. But yeah, she's kind of still running with this, so I'm curious how much longer she'll hold on to it, because I do think Ginny would make a great champion, but that's obviously not going to line up right now because they're both heel. So we'll have to see what they do with Ginny, but it's been a long time since I've watched a match of hers. Almost makes me kind of miss her, honestly. I want to check something out, but we'll see what they do with her. What came after that?
So just give me one moment. I actually do want to see if I can find the length of the gap between NXT UK shows.
Sure.
NXT UK. There we go. Here we go. The last NXT UK show before the lockdown. Oh, shit. Okay. Was, I believe, March 7th.
Oh, okay.
So they went from March 7th to, I want to say the first episode back was September 17th. Yeah, it was. So, yeah, I mean, basically 6 months of no defenses at all for Kaylee Ray. That's a pretty strong explanation for why she's held the title for so long,
Yeah, absolutely.
But anyway, so let's get into the rest of NXT UK. We had a Heritage Cup match as the main event. It was a quarterfinal match. Just as a reminder, Heritage Cup rules, there are 6 3-minute British-style rounds where basically the rule is it's best of 3, so 2 out of 3 falls, unless there's a disqualification, in which case the person that gets disqualified automatically loses, or a knockout, and again, in which case the person getting knocked out automatically loses the whole thing. And this is a quarterfinal match between Noam Dar and Alexander Wolf with special guest referee Pete Dunne. So Dar got the first fall of the match with about 12 seconds left to go in the second round, and he did that with a roll-up. Then Alexander Wolf got his first fall and the second fall of the overall match just a minute into the fourth round, just shy of a minute into the fourth round. And then right as the fifth round was ending, Noam Dar went to hit a Nova Roller on Pete Dunne, but Dunne got out of the way. He hit it on Wolf, and Dunne counted to 3, and Dar won the match right before the end of the round. So Dar advances into the semifinals of the Heritage Cup.
I mean, Dar, I've always felt like is kind of more of an understated guy, you know, coming from that same crop as like the ZSJs and the Bryans and all them. But I like what he brings to the table. In fact, I would say Dar was one of the brighter spots of like all the progress we used to cover on this channel. So good for the dude. Let's see how far he can go.
And then after the match, there was like a big brawl. Everything kind of broke down. Wolf was like getting in Dunn's face, telling him that the loss is your fault. Tried to hit Dunne, but Dunne hit him back. He got kicks and stomps, and then Walter came out to make the save. And that, you know, Walter on his way down allowed Wolf to get Dunne from behind, and then Ilya Dragunov comes out to save Dunne because Ilya is currently feuding with Walter. Then Peter and Ilya ended up cleaning house, and that was the show. So let's get to this week's episode of NXT UK, which was a little bit more match heavy, less story heavy. There were actually 5 matches on this show. We had Zaya Brookside and Danny Luna beating Amael, I think is her way to pronounce that name, and Nina Samuels by pinfall. And there were actually 4 matches, not 5. We got an announcement that Ilya and Dunne are going to be facing Wolf and Walter on next week's episode of NXT UK. Saxon Huxley, which I still fucking hate that name, beat Jack Stars with a Z by pinfall. And then we had the Heritage Cup, the other quarterfinal match, A-Kid versus Flash Morgan Webster. And A-Kid actually beat FMW. And it was also then later shown that someone attacked Flash backstage after the match was over. So Flash Morgan Webster wanted to get his 2020 started off on the right foot, and that is very well back on track, really is what he was saying. Very clearly not happening. And I was even wrong. There were actually only 3 matches because then Kaylee Ray didn't have a match. She had a State of the Union address. And pretty much the entire women's division then came out, and they were all fighting each other. So that was NXT UK this week. That's about the extent of it. Anything you wanted to say about it, my man?
Absolutely not. Let's move right along.
All right. Guess we're going to start on Raw then. It's good to see chat kind of starting to fill out. Cord Comer, Brand Metz, Paul. Awesome to see everyone here. As far as Raw goes, we are going to start on the September 28th edition, which was the Clash of Champions post show, which, if you remember correctly, or if I remember correctly, and if you remember yourself, actually started with all of the old fucks coming out that helped Drew beat Orton in the ambulance match to introduce Drew, and you know, he thanked them and they thanked him and all that stuff. Basically one big circle jerk. But as far as actual matches, Drew didn't actually have a match in that show until the very, very end of the night, and it was against like a mystery opponent that ended up being fucking Robert Roode, so who cares, right? But we always like to try and start these with kind of, you know, heat of the night type, like what did we hate? And for me, I think that the angle that I hate the most on Raw consistently is the 24/7 championship.
Yeah, man, like, and I want to kind of make a separation here, and I think you'd agree with this. I think R-Truth is wonderful.
Yeah.
I think he's the
really. I think all of the performers involved are. I think Tozawa's great. I fucking love Drew Gulak. I'm stoked that he kind of got a little bit of a shakeup and he's coming to Raw because it might. Well, actually, it shouldn't be because he actually had some really cool stuff on SmackDown with Bryan. But I don't know. Bryan's on Raw's draft pool, so maybe he'll come to Raw with Gulak. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll have to see how that goes. But you know what, man, you kind of broached it. So what exactly is your gripe with the 24/7 championship? Because you like all the people involved. You said, well, most of the people involved. So what would you say your central gripe is with the 24/7 championship?
That it's literally just filler. It's literally just they're wasting time because they don't want to give other things time. It's like, I would rather see R-Truth versus Drew Gulak versus Tozawa in a 3-way real wrestling match that goes 8 minutes than a shitty, like, 30-second backstage segment where they're all hitting each other with things and then getting roll-ups for wins.
Yeah, because, you know, it's funny. If the closest parallel to the 24/7 championship, which you'd think they'd want to evoke that given that they had Mick Foley introduced the championship way back, is the hardcore title. Yeah. Even the hardcore title had genuine, you know, granted hardcore matches, but still genuine matches every now and again, outside of all the shenanigans. I think when you just do pure shenanigan, which is what this championship seems to be, right? It just gets so tiring after a while. I think when you have a mix of, like, Drake Maverick getting pinned while he's naked trying to consummate his marriage, along with, hey, look at Tozawa and Gulak having a legit wrestling match over this title that just a few weeks ago, again, Maverick got pinned for when he was in his fucking birthday suit. I think I won't necessarily say a better image, but a more entertaining one. But again, when it's just pure shenanigans, it's like, I think it just exhausts itself very quickly, is what I'm trying to say. So.
And you know what? I actually fucked up, because the thing that I hate most on Raw isn't the 24/7 title. The 24/7 title annoys me. And every time it comes on, I tune out. I zone it out. I stop paying attention. But the thing that actively annoys me the most, that I'm actually angry about, that I wish wasn't happening, that 24/7 title annoys me, but I could give or take. The angle that really genuinely pisses me off on Monday Night Raw every week, though, is Dominic Mysterio and everything about him and his family at this point.
Yeah, I mean, we've been over this more extensively on past editions of Catch Up Commentary. I think for you, again, right, the gripe is just it's like way too much too soon. It's like the same nepotistic crap that we talk about with Charlotte and others, right?
I think I'm starting to kind of refine the reason that I dislike it, from just like someone else should have gotten that spot, to also like they took this kid who just happens to have a big name because of his dad, and they basically put him in the exact same position that people like Owens and Alistair and Murphy, et cetera, are already in, just because, and we talked about this last time we did one of these too, everyone below like Lashley, McIntyre, and Orton feel like fucking geeks. There's nobody on Raw that feels like they're above, like we kind of talked about this too, like a 6 out of 10. And right now it feels like Dominic is in that same group, and that pisses me off, because there should be no question in anyone's mind that if Dominic Mysterio got into a match with Aleister Black, that Aleister would kick his fucking head off in 30 seconds and win. And I don't believe that would happen anymore, because they've really given Dominic some credibility, and Dominic would probably take him to the limit. He might still lose, but it would be like a 12-minute match, and that pisses me the fuck off.
I think as it should. I think when you look at a guy like Aleister Black, which, I'm trying to be tentatively optimistic that the best thing to come out of a heel turn would be maybe a program with Drew in the future, because he's got to move on from Orton sometime, unless, of course, Orton wins the championship, which I'm not entirely, unconvinced that that's, not going to happen, that Drew's just going to retain and that Orton's not going to get a title reign out of this. That Black McIntyre would be compelling. But Aleister Black is in such a weird place, I'd have to agree with you. If they did a Dominic Mysterio Aleister Black match, it probably would go 10-plus minutes. I mean, I do ultimately think Aleister Black would win the match, but that's not necessarily the crux of your argument. The crux of your argument, it seems to me, would be that it would just be competitive at all, rather than just Aleister going in, kicking a head off, and then move on to the next one.
Yeah, and you know what? I actually just thought of someone that I would be even angrier about Dominic taking the limit, and this might have already happened. I don't think it has, but it might have. Andrade. If Dominic would take Andrade to the limit, that would piss me off even more than it would if it was Aleister, I think.
Yeah, and I could see that happening as well, because, and it's funny because...
And realistically, Dominic would probably beat Andrade right now, given their pecking order.
Yeah, and I'm glad you said that, because what I was about to say was you had quite a poignant comment on our Twitch stream yesterday where you said, Andrade was valued more highly when Heyman was in the writer's room. Yeah. And now that he's not anymore, I think, that's just going back to devaluing Andrade. I know the dude pissed hot, but honestly, given what WWE seems to tolerate in their locker room and in their company, I'm looking at it a lot differently than I used to. I mean, let's be real here.
It kind of goes back to the thread that I made earlier in the year. Vince picks his winners. Vince is the one that chooses whether you're worth keeping around and worth pushing despite pissing hot or not. And obviously he decided Andrade isn't.
And that's another reason why I think my dynamic with WWE has really fundamentally changed, because if Vince hasn't picked my guy, it really doesn't matter how hard I cheer for them or not.
Yeah.
Because he's going to make sure they win, or he's going to make sure they lose. So, yeah, man, I understand your agreement. It's in a way, I almost feel bad for Dominic, because I do feel like everybody's except maybe Charlotte. Maybe there was a bit of entitlement there. I don't know what goes on in Dominic's head. I would like to assume he's doing the best he can with the material he's gotten. But it's not going to change the fact that, dude, you're in this spot here. You're looking really competitive against people. And by you looking really competitive so early in your career, it's not elevating you. It's bringing those guys down to your level, which is really bad.
Yeah.
And yeah.
And dude,
So,
I mean, hell, you brought up Charlotte, and you know we don't like Charlotte on this podcast. Anyone listening to this, if you're not already aware of that fact, you will learn to realize it, and you will definitely start to understand why over the course of time, especially when she comes back. We do not like Charlotte on this podcast, but I at least give her the credit of she came up through the NXT system. She went to, you know, the performance center. She got trained. She paid her dues. She got pushed in NXT first. And after a few years down there, she got called up. Dominic didn't even do that. Dominic went straight to the main roster. And not only did he go straight to the main roster, the quote unquote dues that he paid were, oh, he got a kendo stick shots a few times from Seth and Murphy. Like, that's literally, like, that's the extent of the dues that this kid paid. He didn't really ever, he was never really humiliated on TV the way that guys like fucking Murphy and some other people have been, in a way that you would expect them to be like, okay, you've paid your dues now, it's time to start pushing you. No, never anything like that. He got his ass beat a few times. He got caned stiff a few times, and that's the extent of it. And they're just like, well, that's it, kid. You're in the club now. And I'm like, you know what? I would really rather not somebody have to go through, physical expense in order to get, in order to be considered having their dues paid. I want them to actually just pay their dues, as in, like, learn how to be a professional wrestler where everybody fucking else does.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with that whatsoever, man. I completely understand that. Yeah, I don't think I really have anything substantive to add, so we can move on.
Okay. Let's move on to the hottest new tag team on Monday Night Raw. Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke.
Yeah, this is weird to me. It's weird because I feel like maybe they are making kind of obvious what they want to do with Mandy, like she's just on Raw, but I just feel like everything with Otis and everything kind of ended so abruptly.
Yeah.
I don't even know what they're doing with Otis, and we'll get to that later. I'm not trying to jump the gun. Dana, it makes more sense because I keep hearing all the time, oh, she's really putting in the time backstage and she's really working so hard. I do believe one day she is going to win a women's title, if anything, and I know this is going to sound weird, but I could see it being very similar to like a Mark Henry type of thing, where, hey, you've put in the time, you've worked really hard, this is just us giving you the nod. Like, I don't even know if it's going to be like a big hullabaloo kind of run. It'll just be kind of a nod, whatever.
I hope you're wrong, man. I really hope you're wrong about that.
I mean, we'll see. I mean, dude, with WWE, who even knows, right?
Yeah, like my whole thing, though, is like, I feel like it would really kill the credibility of the shit. Like, we've got Asuka, we've got Sasha, we've got Bayley, like, we've got so many amazing even Zelina, I feel like. We could I would be cool if Zelina would win the title, not Dana Brooke, and not Mandy Rose, too. I think Mandy's more likely to win it in her career than Dana, but I don't want either one of them to ever win it, because they just both suck.
Yeah. It's still kind of funny to me that even a Lacey Evans hasn't won it yet, honestly.
Dude, and I wouldn't mind Lacey winning at this point. Like, I feel like even though she's obviously not on the same level as some of the women that have been holding the titles in recent months and arguably recent years, I would be able to buy her as a champion, as a heel champion, not as a face. Fuck that. I don't want my fucking women's champion going around touting the values of conservatism every week. But I definitely could imagine her being an effective heel champion for sure.
Yeah, we'll have to see how that goes. But them as a tag
I can imagine
team,
her having almost like a Carmella reign, where like she never actually beats her opponent, but she always finds a way to get past her opponents.
Yeah, I could definitely agree with you there, man. And as far as them as a team, it's so hard for me to care about the women's tag titles because I don't care about the story of like Shayna and Nia.
Yeah.
They don't get along, but hey, guys, when they put their differences aside, they're actually really good. Like,
yeah, I was gonna say it's like there's a word I'm trying to. The separation between what we're being told and what we're seeing. Because what we're being told is, oh, they don't get along, they hate each other. But what we're seeing is they're never fighting, other than maybe in promos. They are an effective tag team in the sense that they do like frequent tags, they isolate, that kind of stuff. They're dominant. They have never shown even a hint of hostility towards one another in a match. Like, how can you tell us that they hate each other and then we never actually see them doing anything that would even imply that they hate each other outside of promos?
Yeah, I could totally understand why you'd feel that way. And I was even getting ready to say, dude, like, You know me. You and I have both been watching wrestling a long time. You know my golden era was Ruthless Aggression era. You know I've seen this storyline done before and done significantly better. Hell, even Team Hell No, which kind of started off, similar because they were so antagonistic, really dovetailed into something beautiful. Mainly because Brian is really magnetic and charming, and Kane, to his credit, like, he's able to laugh at himself and still also feel like he's credible enough to flip the switch and be the monster.
Yeah.
Naya is a charisma vacuum. Shayna has a different kind of charisma to me. I don't think she's boring. I just feel like,
Shayna, I feel like with Shayna,
it's
it's less charisma and more just presence,
Yeah, exactly. I think she works best in sound bites, but I think you put those two elements together. And, like, I was hoping we'd just do the match already and get it over with. And I'm not even saying I want the match, but again, I'm thinking like WWE, right? WWE wants to do the match.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking we do the match, we get Shayna to the championship. That really hasn't happened. And they're sticking with this team. So to circle it back around, because I promise you guys I didn't lose the thread, it's gotten to a point where I really don't care about the women's tag titles. Like Sasha and Bayley revived my interest because they made it both a compelling championship on its own merits while also masterfully maintaining it as a narrative tool. See, things don't have to be mutually exclusive, see? But now that that's gone and done with, I'm just kind of back to being mad, and I would care about them again if Ruby and Liv won them, and we'll kind of touch on that a bit later. And I still have hope that they maybe will be the next champions, and maybe this is a longer form story. But if a Dana and Mandy, were to win them, I would just be like, well, the titles were just what we always thought they were, right? So, no use crying over shit that you already thought was shit. We'll just have to see what happens, but it kind of surprised me they're sticking Mandy in a tag team because I thought they'd want to get her in singles, like, straight away, but and if you're going to put her in a tag team, I just wish they'd put her in with somebody that's a better worker than her. Like, honestly, I don't really care much for Mickey, but Mickey knows what she's doing out there, and she's a veteran. If you would have stuck Mandy with Mickey, she doesn't have to share much of the match time. She doesn't look bad, right? And then Mickey, maybe if they were like road partners, because I don't know how traveling works anymore. I've read too many biographies to know how the old school used to work. But, if they would travel on the road, Mickey could, like, smarten her up. But when it's Dana and you're both pretty green, like, how are you going to elevate each other when you're practically at the same level, to me?
Yep.
So I don't really see this benefiting anybody. Yeah. So that's just kind of my thoughts on that, man.
Yeah, and Paul even said, like, Mark Henry was dog shit when he debuted, and I believe you. I didn't actually see him when he debuted. I do believe you. And to be fair, he didn't end up winning the world title. What was it, 18 years, right? That was the whole thing, or was it?
Yeah, 18
It was
years.
18? Okay, yeah. So it took him 18 years to win a world title, which, Dana's a third of the way there. So she's got 12 more years. But I just look at it, too, as, like, Dana's been wrestling for longer than Momo Watanabe.
That's wild, dude.
Yeah. That's like, okay, so she's here, and Momo's, like, way up here, and, like, how much catching up can Dana really do? Even if she does wrestle for another 12 years, which I doubt.
Yeah, I think you're 100% right about that. I think at some point it's just you've hit the ceiling, and you just have to acknowledge that it's a ceiling, not a roadblock. So.
All right. And since we are talking about Mandy and Dana, last week they beat Lana and Natty, and this week they teamed up with Asuka to defeat the team of Zelina Vega, Natty, and Lana. And again, it's Mandy Rose hitting pump knee strikes in every match to win these.
Yeah, they're just slowly building Mandy up. It's cool that Zelina's doing more. I did like her outings with Asuka. I don't like that she's losing so much. I'd like them to take a step back with her and get her back on a little bit of a winning streak. Yeah. But at least she's actually wrestling, so can't complain too much.
And hey, since you already kind of brought up Shayna and Nia, just as like a tangent from this other women's tag team, let's just talk about them for now. Last week, I don't know if they did anything last week. Apparently, Natalya threatened that she and Lana would chill all night in the ring until Shayna and Nia were stripped of the titles. Oh, because they couldn't defend them that night. That's right. And that was when we got Dana and Mandy coming out, and they were like the newest, hottest team, And then this week, Shayna and Nia did defend the tag titles against the Riot Squad, which, is Ruby and Liv. And they won. So whatever. I mean, we were definitely rooting for Liv and Ruby to win, but man, Shayna and Nia they just hate each other so much, but they just can't stop winning.
Yeah, and that's the funny thing too, man, is like this title reign. and I'm not gonna like come foaming at the mouth. If you noticed, I've kept a very chill demeanor throughout this whole thing. Mainly because, again, as I said at the start, how many different ways can you really state that you hate something? So I'm just trying to be tranquilo about it. But like, they could actually get more out of this if you showed more discord, and they just kept barely retaining each time until finally it was too much. See what I mean? Like, if it started with like a, oh man, Shayna accidentally bumped into Nia, or Nia like was flailing wildly and accidentally lariated Shayna, which who knows, with her it could just be her greenness or genuine accident. And but they always recover and are handing the titles until finally it gets to be too much. But they're not even doing that though. Like, if anything, it's like the most we see, right, is, oh, I'm handing out my hand to take a tag. Do you want a tag? Do I? Okay, you need me, because in my head, I'm the captain of the team, so I'll do it. But then that's it, and it's not even really communicated in a tense way. So I guess what I'm trying to say is I feel like in their mind they're doing it, but to me they're not actually doing it. To focus on the actual match, wasn't a bad match, actually. Without getting worked by it, because I know I was really upset initially that Ruby and Liv didn't win. But again, though, I think why I'm upset is because I know there is no permanence with WWE, because scripts can change like that, right? So ideally, you'd see that on TV and you'd think, okay, Ruby and Liv are really just being tested now. Their relationship is still on the mend. And that's another thing, too. I wish they had a little bit more discord, honestly. It shouldn't be this easy for them to be back on good terms, but maybe we'll get more into that another time. I just feel like there should be more struggle there a little bit. But, Ruby's selling was fantastic because Ruby is one of the most underappreciated women on the roster, in my opinion.
Yep.
She's a gem. Liv's growth has been tremendous. I am deeply proud of her.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man. I keep saying it. I'm gonna keep saying it until I either get proven wrong or until it becomes popular consensus. Liv Morgan is the second best bumper in WWE among women, or actually, I should rephrase that, on the main roster, because I don't want to discount the NXT women. On the main roster, though, second only to Sasha Banks.
Yeah, I think, Liv and Ruby are fantastic. I definitely think they're up there. And, so ideally you'd look at this and you'd think, okay, they're going to win the titles Mania weekend. But you can't really be sure of that because it's WWE. And that's not me trying to go into some diatribe. It's like, we've seen it for years, dude. You and I have been watching the same product for years. You and I know. They can go into a Raw and be like, hey, you've been getting this push. I think we're going to stop that because I'm not feeling it anymore. Vince, I think, has one of the biggest commitment issues I've ever seen, because he'll like somebody, he'll tend to them a little bit, and then he'll just be like, no, I'm not feeling it anymore. So I don't know what Endgame is for these two. That could have been the only title shot they got for what we know, but I'm keeping an open mind that they're going to win the titles Mania weekend. I hope it comes through because I'd love for them to be the next tag champs. But yeah, it was a great match. Great selling by Ruby. Liv had great emotion afterwards. Like, oh, I got to check on Ruby. I need to know that she's okay. I just hope it amounts to something. That's kind of what I'm looking for.
Yeah, it was kind of a weird match too, because I felt like Liv was really, really emotive and like really emotional as Ruby was getting her ass beat, and it made it seem like she cared about Ruby a lot more than we had been let on to believe prior to that.
Right.
Because like it seemed like she kind of went from like friends with Ruby to wanting to reject Ruby to like, okay, Ruby, you're fine, I'll accept you again. And we went from, okay, I'll accept you again, straight to like, oh my God, I don't know what I'd do if I can't live without you kind of situation within what feels like seconds to me.
I can't live without you. I saw what you did there.
I didn't even try that. Pun unintended, but thank you for pointing it out.
But yeah, man, like, and again, that's fine. And I think the women in the ring have been selling it fine. I just wish for me, and you know what, dude, maybe there has been, and maybe I shouldn't blame them, because look, if I'm being completely honest, I've completely checked out. Again, I'm in a bad place with WWE right now, guys. Yeah. I can't lie. I don't care about the product. I don't watch. Really, you guys should be thanking Ashton that these even happened, because he's diligent. He takes the notes. I really couldn't give a single fuck about what they're doing. Like, I feel gross watching it. And to be fair, I think that's like 90% speaking out. But then I think that other 10% just become more pronounced. Like, you just said it, dude. We just got it done earlier. Vince picks his winners. If I know my guy or girl isn't one of your winners, then I'm not masochistic. I'm going to do something else that, makes me feel good and makes me feel like, I don't know, I have a dog in a fight somewhere. But yeah, I mean, I hope they win the titles. And I guess the point I was getting ready to make is, because I've checked out, maybe they have put more meat on the bone. Maybe they've shown a bit more of them working through it and learning to trust each other. But, so maybe I've just missed it. But if they haven't, I would have liked a little bit more of that. But I still love them both so much that because of them, I'm going to be biased. I'm going to let it slide. So we'll see what happens for them.
Yeah. All right. So I guess next for Raw, we already talked about Shayna and Nia. We already talked about the 24/7 title. I guess we can talk about Asuka since that kind of relates to like the women's tag stuff because she did team up with Mandy and Dana. So on Clash of Champions, she did successfully defend her title against Zelina Vega. And then on the post Clash, I said the night before, Clash of Champions, Raw, she did the exact same thing. She beat Zelina in a second night in a row with the Asuka lock to effectively send Zelina to the back of the line. And then this week we had the 6-woman tag, Mandy, Dana, and Asuka versus Zelina, Natty, and Lana. And again, the Asuka team won that match. It was thanks to Mandy, but it was still, they won. So I think Zelina is firmly in the rear view of Asuka at this point.
Definitely. It was a nice little mini feud for Asuka. It was definitely different, and I appreciate that. I'm just curious where they're going to go from here with Asuka, because I want her to keep having a quality title reign. That woman, not just in the ring, she's just been working her ass off in general, being a compelling personality, operating the YouTube channel, which of course is going to make her more likable to a broader audience, and just in the ring delivering. So I want them to keep giving her quality opponents. So we'll see who's next.
Yeah. Let's see. Next up, let's talk about Drew. Let's talk about Drew. Drew in the first, the post Clash of Champions Raw, at the beginning of the show when he was out there with all the old fucks, he literally said that he was going to defend the title tonight against whoever wants to challenge him. It was like an open challenge. And then in the main event, we got our open challenge, and it was the returning Robert Roode. So that was the big deal. And then this week, and of course, Drew did retain. No thanks to Dolph Ziggler, who tried really hard to help Robert win. But then this week, we had a 6-man tag. It was Randy Orton, Dolph Ziggler, and Robert Roode versus McIntyre and the Street Profits. And of course, the 3 single stars beat the world champion and the tag team champions.
Yeah, I didn't mind either of these matches, honestly. Like, don't get me wrong, I wasn't, like, wowed by either of them. But, they told a good story with the Roode McIntyre match with, like, Roode working over one, but it might have even been a leg trying to weaken the Claymore and stuff like that. And it was a competitive match, but, like, it had no drama because we just knew Drew was retaining. And then potential contenders, well, Randy Orton, a definitive contender, beating the champions, it gives them momentum. Like, oh, look at them, they're threats to the title. Orton actually pinning McIntyre, I think he needed that after how he got dominated in the ambulance match, especially with that Claymore / I'm going to take your punt and do it to you as kind of a just desserts kind of thing finish. Yeah. So Orton did get some of the momentum back. I was even telling you before we went live, man, Orton's been starting to grow on me in the latter half of this feud. I like the ambulance promo he cut before the ambulance match. I like the night vision goggles, and I'm sure we're going to get to that and just beating the crap out of the legends. Because I know we're kind of volleying back and forth between last week and this week. And, and even in this tag match, it was a nice RKO he hit, got the pin.
On Drew! He got the pin on Drew. Do you realize, dude, that's the first time Drew McIntyre has been pinned since Survivor Series 2019. Do you remember who pinned him on that show?
Who?
Roman Reigns.
Goddamn, man. Goddamn. Yeah, that's pretty huge. See, I didn't have that context behind it. So, yeah, it just shows how much of a threat Orton is. Their Hell in a Cell match could be good. I don't want to dismiss it out of hand, especially because, again, Orton has been kind of turning a corner with me in this feud. But, yeah, we'll see what happens, man. I just thought it was solid stuff. Can't really complain.
All right. So, I mean, you already mentioned it, so let's just continue this talking about Orton, because Orton cut a fucking ridiculously long promo this week that I don't even want to talk about, really. But last week, he did do the janitor shtick, and that was hilarious.
Yeah. He had the mask, and then he took it off, and then he put the night vision goggles on. He's surveying all, the legends, quote unquote, playing poker, having a good time. WWE is always so weird to me with this stuff because, okay, you have a section cornered off for the legends where they're just going to go and party, and you don't have security, and you don't have anything, and you broadcast that. Because I think McIntyre was even talking about those guys going back there and having a party. So you're talking about it when Orton very clearly already addressed you guys and could very easily get wind of that information. Wrestling's stupid. So Orton's just, he's surveying all that, puts on the night vision goggles, flips the switch. And, like, I'm going to be honest, I dug it. I liked it. It's stupid. It's ridiculous. But you know what? It's pro wrestling. It's not quantum physics. I liked it. And turns the light on. Everybody's laid out. It's the hammiest shit. It's the kind of shit that I expect Twitter Orton to drag in a few months or at least laugh about. And yeah, it was good. I really have nothing other to say than it was good.
Yeah. All right. I think the only other stuff that we have left for Raw is the good stuff. So let's talk about Keith Lee.
Okay. Man, he's in a weird place, huh?
Yeah. Well, last week he beat Andrade, which, like, happy for Keith, but fuck, why is Andrade getting squashed?
Yeah. I mean, dude, you and I talk about it. Andrade's a freaking ace in the hole. Like, he's a guy you could put the title on, and he'd do amazing things. He could have fucking barn burners. And really, too, again, we've seen the man in a suit. We've seen his look, and I don't know how far his English has gotten. I don't know if he's really...
Well, dude, did you catch his promo on Raw? Not this week, but the previous week, on the 28th.
No. What did he say?
Okay, so after Zelina failed to beat Asuka for the second night in a row, Andrade actually came out and, like, passed her, like, crossed her path on the ramp. Like, she was going up the ramp and he was coming down the ramp. Got in the ring and cut a promo talking about how Zelina was nothing without him, and how Asuka beat her twice, and how she was the weak link. And that then he went talking about the night before in the tag title match when Angel Garza got injured, and he said, last night I was the only thing holding the team together, and I am the greatest in WWE. So he really, like, built himself up with his promo. So I was like, oh man, is Andrade about to get pushed? And then fucking Keith Lee's music hit, and I'm like, shit, what the hell? How are you gonna have Andrade cut an actual good promo where he really gives himself credit and try and, like, build him back up, and then immediately Keith Lee comes out? And when Keith Lee's music hits against somebody who is of the current status of Andrade, you fucking know it's going to be a squash match. And that's basically what it was. Andrade didn't do shit in this match.
May I ask you a tangential question related to this point?
Yeah.
How would you feel about Andrade getting drafted to SmackDown? Would you be open to that, or would you just feel like it's just same shit?
I don't know. That's I almost feel like it might be his only shot at this point, because at least then he'd have an advocate in the writer's room because Paul Heyman's around.
Follow-up question, the promo he cut, because it does sound good, and again, like, I'm not going to lie to anybody, and certainly not you. I've just completely checked out. Would you say that the English was like, I know we can understand him, and I feel like we've always been able to understand him. Would you feel like it was understandable like everybody else? Do you feel like he's put the time in?
I would say it was about as understandable as late Kyrie NXT promos.
That's not bad. That's not bad, because I actually felt like late Kyrie NXT promos were very understandable. So going by that metric, yeah, that's actually very heartening. Yeah, I see. It's always interesting to get more context from you. It's almost like I'm reacting to the stuff you tell me because I've checked out. I can understand that, man. And see, that's what I mean, though. Like, WWE, I think it's just so emotionally draining, because you hear a promo like that, and Wrestling 101, right? You kind of cut off what you perceive to be the fat around you. Zelina and now Angel, who thankfully he's okay. Because I know that was like a scare at Clash of Champions. And you think, oh man, the Rocket's ready to go off, and this and that. And we'll see if he gets drafted to SmackDown. I personally hope that's the case if Garza's going to be on Raw, because I actually think that they could both be successful singles acts. Andrade more than Angel, personally, but maybe, again, that's my bias, because I'm a huge Andrade fan. It's just, they've just beaten it out of me, because, again, he's clearly not a winner right now. And then you have Keith Lee's music hit, and again, like you said, your thought process immediately changes because you know what's actually going on here. But it doesn't make it any less frustrating that, like, I don't want to use the term as strong as gaslight, because I wouldn't even be using that term properly, but it definitely feels like a deception. Like, you give me a promo like this, he's got nobody around him, so he's sent to fly solo. What do you expect me to take this to mean when I've seen so many precedents throughout wrestling, both in your company and elsewhere, and then he just gets squashed? So it definitely feels like a deception, man. I mean, not to be hyperbolic, but that's how I would perceive it. And it's just, like, how many times are you going to play this game with viewership where you think it's going to go one way, and then it's like, oh, nope, Keith Lee, who, again, Keith Lee shouldn't be pushed down either. Like, you should be elevating him and building him up. But
Yeah, like that's
Also,
why,
though,
like, as soon as Keith Lee came out, I was like, fuck, like. I can't even be angry because Keith Lee's going to get a dominant showing here, but I am angry because it's against Andrade, and I want better for him too.
well, I think it comes back to what we say so often on the podcast, right? Like, now I know Vince doesn't understand this because he's still traumatized, but you can build up more than one person at a time. Like, I promise, it's going to be okay. And it's just a shame that, like, when you have two acts that could be so promising, you have them in, like, kind of a cannibalism here because Keith Lee's just going to devour Andrade and push Andrade further down, when before they could have been at equal footing, maybe one slightly above the other, but now you're just pushing Andrade further into the proverbial water.
Yeah.
And it just, it sucks, man. It sucks.
Hell,
But
if Andrade would have given Keith Lee a run for his money here, I would have been like, okay, we really are starting an Andrade push. Like, Keith could have beaten him. This to me is almost like a lose-lose match in the sense of, like, if Keith dominates, Andrade looks like a scrub, and it's like you're making Andrade look like a lower card guy when he shouldn't be. But if Andrade really takes him to the limit, and even it doesn't really matter who wins at that point, the question comes up: who are we pushing? Who are we trying to get over here? Because, like, Keith Lee is still like a project. Like, I think I just reject the concept of this match entirely because I feel like you should never put two guys that you're trying to push in the same match together, and you should be pushing both of these guys. But they obviously have no intention of pushing Andrade right now, and that pisses me off too.
Yeah, you know what? I hear you on that, man. I think it's just very frustrating because it's like, I want to get invested. I know there's no reason to get invested, so I'm just kind of left with all of this, and it sucks. It sucks, man. I hear you.
So then this week we got Keith Lee accepting a sort of an open challenge, I guess. Not really an open challenge, but basically Braun Strowman goes up to Adam Pearce backstage and says, "Hey man, if there's not going to be a WWE Underground or a Raw Underground tonight, I want to fight. Get me an opponent." And Adam Pearce is just like, "You know what, brother? I can't give you an official match since you're not a part of the Raw roster, but you can have an unsanctioned match." Or an exhibition match, I think is what he calls it. And then he explains that it's unsanctioned. And Braun's just like, "Deal." And Braun goes out. And then Keith Lee comes up to Adam Pearce and he's just like, "Hey, man, I tell him I accept." And that's a match that we get. And it goes to a double count out because they are fighting on the outside. And it's really, really cool, actually. Like, Braun hits his, like, big, like, running shoulder block that usually takes guys out and starts, like, walking away. And then Keith's back on his feet ready to keep going. And at that time, Braun was already halfway up the ramp, so they couldn't.
Yeah, Braun's in such a weird place, too, because we know next Friday now, because we did the Twitch stream for this past Friday, Braun's going to be challenging Roman for the Universal Championship. So,
which is also weird, though, because didn't Braun get drafted to Raw last night?
I don't think he got officially drafted to Raw, did he?
I thought he did.
I don't remember his name coming up.
2020 WWE draft. I'm looking. Man. No, he's actually got officially drafted to Smack. Oh, okay. He's eligible to be drafted on this coming episode of Raw. So he hasn't actually been drafted at all yet.
Yeah, and they've already got him in that title match. Maybe they will just draft him to SmackDown and make it all nice and clean and official, but it's still a weird order of going about things.
I don't know. I think they are going to have him get drafted to Raw so that we get the stakes on Friday of, oh my God, is the Universal Championship going to end up on Monday Night Raw?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's weird, but at least those two have good chemistry. And with this new Roman persona, I'm curious how the match. And with Braun being more
I wonder if he's gonna no sell some of Braun's shit. I'm hoping he does, honestly.
Yeah, I like how they work together. So on that front, it should be a good match. But yeah, Braun's just kind of in a weird place. But I don't know. I don't like the person, but the performer's still pretty decent, I guess.
Yeah. All right, are we ready to talk about the big thing on Monday Night Raw the last couple weeks?
Sure, man. Let's do it.
Hurt Business versus Retribution. Let's get into this. So, last week's episode, we had Mustafa Ali, Ricochet, and Apollo Crews versus the Hurt Business, and it was just a straight up 3-on-3 match. I don't think Retribution actually got involved at all. I don't think Retribution were on last week's show at all, but the logo did show up during this 3-on-3 match. So the logo showed up, but that's it.
Okay.
And then on this week, we had a bit more of a revelation, but we'll talk about last week's real quick.
I just wanted to say really quickly before volleying it to you, I love that WWE has two factions that I can really get behind, because I've been loving the Hurt Business. That's no secret on here. That is one of the things I've been consistently enjoying. And Retribution, I know you've been loving their Twitter game, especially now with what they've done with the group, or seemingly doing the group. I do have my reservations, which I would like to reiterate very quickly here when we get to them. But overall, it's got me more interested than I was. So where are you with both these factions and them kind of feuding with each other? Are you enjoying it? Do you feel like it's kind of weird because they're both kind of heelish in a way? Like, where do you stand with it?
Yeah, the Hurt Business situation is really weird. It does, honestly, to me, feel like they're kind of going to build up to a Survivor Series match, maybe a 4-on-4, maybe a 5-on-5. That's going to end up being Retribution. So it'll be the four guys that we know of right now, which we'll talk about, against the Hurt Business, but also maybe even like the Hurt Business end up recruiting Cruz and Ricochet, even if only just for that match. Even if they don't fully join the Hurt Business, just for that match, they might be a part of it.
Right.
It might not even need to. It might just be a 4-on-4. It might just be MVP, Shelton, Cedric, and Bobby versus the four main male members of Retribution now, which I think it's time to get into that, because this week we had another tag match. It was Lashley I'm getting ahead of myself. It was Ali versus MVP 1-on-1. MVP had the Hurt Business in his corner, but not actually in the match. And before the match could end, Retribution hits. They surround the ring, and eventually they end up the three main guys that we know about already, T-Bar, Mace, and Slapjack on the ramp. And Ali is like getting cornered by Hurt Business, and then eventually he turns his back to them to face Retribution. Like the four of us are gonna defend the ring together, because it was the three. It was MVP, Lashley, and Benjamin, I believe. I don't think Cedric was out there with them. And yeah, Ali gets into like a square formation with them. Like, we're going to defend the ring. We're going to beat the asses of these guys. And then Ali like runs out of the ring and goes up to like stand face to face with the three main guys in Retribution. And then he turns around and says, "Go get him."
Yeah, man. And Hurt Business, their expression completely changed. They got laid the fuck out.
Yep.
Press and pause on the discussion real quick, just to say to everybody that's here, if you haven't already, and I'm guessing everybody given who's in our chat has, Dominique Adams did an amazing thread on Retribution. Yeah. That actually made me kind of look at the group a bit differently, honestly. I think he's at Domo_Adams, I think.
At Domo Adams 1997 or something like that.
Yeah, but I think there's like an underscore in there. That's, unless I'm imagining it. Yeah, I was right. Yeah. At Domo_Adams 1997. So we're both kind of right.
Yeah.
The Retribution thread should be the pinned tweet. I highly recommend you guys check that out. I thought it was fantastic. I even did a live reaction to it, I believe, on this past week's NXT.
Yep.
So, yeah, Hurt Business gets laid out. Again, I've been loving those guys because they've been laying people out, whether on Raw Underground or whatever, which, I mean, what's going on with that? I feel like they dropped it. Like, WWE is so fucking desperate, dude. Jesus Christ. They're just throwing everything at the wall to see what sticks. And as far as Ali being the leader, okay, so let me just get all the positive out before I get to my reservations, which are probably in my own mind. Mm-hmm. And I already kind of addressed these reservations, but again, I did want to revisit them. The visual of Ali doing his pose with Retribution behind him was fucking sick.
Yes.
Another positive, because again, I just want to go through everything on my mind here, so I'm going to kind of take the ball selfishly over the next few minutes.
I'll chip in here and there.
Ali is a great dude. Mm-hmm. I mean, wonderful personality, been working hard, all that. A third thing that I like, the message too. Because again, if you read Dominique Adams' thread, and then you see how Ali kind of tweets and stuff, the message is still there. It's just been a bit distorted in a way, and not even necessarily in a bad way. The fourth thing I really like, and I don't even think I mentioned this originally, can I just mention how much I fucking love that he's got these killers, especially T-Bar and Mace, being led by a freaking cruiserweight.
Yep.
That juxtaposition, because like, here's the thing, legit, I haven't seen this since like the boss Spike Dudley, when they had Spike Dudley do that weird heel turn and like bully the Dudley boys and kind of order them around. And this is so much bigger than that, because this is a faction that's been chaotic to the entire WWE. Mm-hmm. And Ali is like, that is huge. Like, I don't even want to make too big of a deal out of it, but I mean, come on, guys. We still love those people that are like, oh my God, all these vanilla midgets. No, this guy can actually talk. He has a great fucking look that, like, him turning heel, you know, you could almost see him as like a sexier Jafar kind of thing if you wanted to, like, put him in a movie or whatever. He's definitely got screen presence, right? And he's leading these fucking brutes. I love it. I love that imagery.
Yeah, dude. That's
That's
like what it would have been like if, like, I don't know, fucking Ted DiBiase or Cody Rhodes, like somebody on that level, would have been revealed as the leader of the Shield back in the day.
Exactly, dude. Exactly. Like, I think it's so great. And the thing is, and then, you know, this is taking the piss. I'm not going to try and be disingenuous. Ali is so much better than those guys. Because, I mean, the way he talks and what he talks about,
yeah,
I just think, and again, but see, this is where my reservations come in. And that's why I'm really curious how they're going to play it. And I'll admit that Dominique Adams did kind of temper my reservations a little bit. Because I was talking, it might have even been on the NXT live reactions, about the subtext of it all, because I know some people are like, come on, guys, Retribution isn't Antifa. But see, here's the thing. You don't have to be Antifa to still represent or be tangential to Antifa in WWE's mind.
Yeah.
Because when you're spray painting stuff and you're chainsaw stuff, you're fucking Antifa in the
like, if you're not Antifa in WWE, you're Antifa adjacent.
Precisely. So they've been positioned as, like, these guys that want to destroy WWE. And why would you want to destroy WWE? It's literally the happiest place on earth. Don't you see me shitting these rainbows? And so you've got a group like that wreaking havoc.
I've never heard you do a better impersonation of Stephanie McMahon.
I know, right? And then you've got Ali, who, again, has been doing these great promos about, you know, openly being a Muslim and being proud of that. And spitting against, you know, racists, which God knows they need to be bodied every chance they get these days, and police brutality and the struggle. And, like, I was even telling Ashton, imagine if you just package this as the good thing that it actually is, rather than perverting it like a Daniel Bryan heel turn, where it's like, what? He's talking about corporate greed and overconsumption? That bastard. And you really...
Oh, God, you tickled my eardrums.
Oh, I'll tickle more than that. You give me enough time. And you package that as a heel thing, which to me is just gross. But again, that's another commentary for another time. And I've been liking the flow I've been keeping with this so far. And you really just embraced what Ali is saying as the good thing that it is. And now you've got him running with this group. And I'm sorry, too, because I don't mean to sound insensitive here. I'm more worried about WWE's insensitivity. You know, because, and I was talking about this with James, and we had a fruitful discussion about it. Kind of making Ali a heel when he's openly embraced being a Muslim and he's openly, like, embraced this message of justice and this and that. And again, thinking about subtext, it's like, okay, so you've moved beyond the Muhammad Hassan, hey, I'm going to have these masked people choke people out with piano wire, right? Or you've moved past the other stuff where a guy's going to come out in a turban or this and that, where it's just so racially coded and just so fucking gross.
Yeah, but I just hate anything that comes off. Anything that WWE does, because they control their own narrative. Anything WWE does that lets white supremacists go like, I knew that son of a bitch was a piece of shit.
Yeah, see, and that's what I'm worried about. Because, like, Javaris, let me just make perfectly clear, I completely agree with you. And again, that's why I said Dom tempered a lot of my reservations, because the way he articulated and positioned it, I'm like, oh yeah, Ali's perfect for this. I think for me, again, it's just, I know how WWE ideologically is positioned. I mean, you know, Vince's wife was in the Trump cabinet. I don't know if she was one of those people that was part of the mass wave of firings, because that cabinet is about as unstable as a raw script. But, you know, I do think about, again, that word, the subtext, what they're conveying underneath it all. Hell, even Kofi's title win, I even kind of mentioned this as an example. Kofi deserved it, and it was great, and it was definitely, like, black positivity and black pride, which is definitely needed on WWE programming, no fucking doubt. But I love that the heel that he beat it for wasn't a guy like Triple H, which would have been so much more satisfying, right? Like WrestleMania 19 Triple H. That would have been even better. No, the guy he beat for it was like, all of you people are killing the planet because you needlessly, you know, consume and this and that, and corporate greed like the WWE. And it's like, man, this motherfucker's spitting. Like, keep giving me your opinions. So, I don't know. It's just, I worry about the ideological underpinnings of it all, but just taking it for what it is, because sometimes a storyline is just a storyline. A paraphrase on Freud, sometimes a pipe is just a pipe. It's really good for Ali, and he definitely deserves the spot. And again, as Javar said, storyline-wise, it makes a lot of sense. I just hope they go all the way with it, because I'm going to be honest. Ali can hold the WWE title, and I'm not batting an eye. I believe it. With this group now, too, I believe it. I mean, I could see him beating Drew McIntyre. That's a tall fucking order. But if you had Mace and T-Bar run in and beat the shit out of him, and then Ali drapes the arm over, yeah, I buy it. I fucking buy it. Yeah.
I mean, hell, he wouldn't even need to just do an arm drape. He could hit a fucking 450 off the top and get the pin off of that.
Exactly, and that would be even better, because it's like, I beat him all on my own. CC, the 450 beat him, and nothing else.
You know what, though, dude? Another thing that I wanted to kind of bring up during this as like a speculation and just like a thought exercise, do you think that they are going to even address that Ali was probably the SmackDown hacker before coming to Raw and use that to feed into this storyline?
I don't think they will mention it. I would love if they did, though, dude, because I think that would be perfect for the narrative, right?
Yeah,
like, we've just been discarded and thrown away like trash. We'd get our hopes up and nothing would come of it. I hope they mention it.
Yeah, because like with the hacker, it was always like these glitches on SmackDown, right? But then Ali comes to Raw, and what follows him? Weird ass glitches, and then we find out, oh shit, it's caused by this group. What if this is the same group that was causing the SmackDown glitches? Oh shit, is it all connected?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'd love for that to happen, man. We're gonna have to wait and see. But I hope you're right about that.
Yeah, because, man, it's one of those things where I'm trying to temper my expectations, because I feel like no matter how good something seems in the WWE at first, Vince always finds a way to fuck it up. He will either overexpose it and make us resent it, or he will change what made it cool in the first place and make us stop caring about it, or make us just turn on it entirely and stop liking it all, right? So I am definitely trying to keep my expectations tempered. But what you said that I think gets me the most excited is that Mustafa Ali is now a believable WWE champion because of this.
Definitely.
That to me is the biggest bonus. Like, and especially because like we have kind of had little discussions over the course of the last few years when Ali has been putting out some of these amazing promos, basically saying like, if Vince wasn't so obsessed with size, Mustafa Ali could be the face of the company, right?
Yeah.
And now we have got to kind of evaluate things, because if you really think about it, every face of the company that WWE has ever had that actually worked was a loathed heel who the fans forced to turn face because they started to want him on their side.
Yeah.
Ali is suddenly an eligible candidate for that role, as far as I'm concerned.
Definitely. I think I completely agree with you on that, actually. Yeah. I'm very excited for what comes next for him.
Yeah. So. Like if Ali, and that's the thing too, is like, I have it in my head. Like, you remember they did like an interview, or it might have even just been on the New Day podcast. New Day talked about how basically when they first went to Vince with the idea of the New Day, he thought that they wouldn't be able to get heel heat for it. Or actually, it might have been the other way around. I don't remember. It was one or the other. He either thought they wouldn't be able to get heel heat, or they wouldn't be able to get over his baby faces. And they basically said, give us 3 months. And they completely succeeded. Like, I think it was initially heel heat. I think it was initially like, you're not going to get people to boo Kofi Kingston. And they said, give us 3 months. And they had people booing the shit out of them within a month. And then eventually it was another one of those situations where like they were just having so much fun, and they were so ridiculous and over the top and entertaining, people started cheering them. And I honestly would not be surprised. Obviously, it wouldn't be for the same reasons, but I wouldn't be surprised if Retribution had a similar arc where obviously they're heels and they're going to be bad guys and they're going to cheat and they're going to do underhanded stuff. But when you look at the talent in this faction, how many times have we said they need to push Shane Thorne? How many times have we praised Dominik Dijakovic for his incredible athleticism and ring ability? How many times have we talked about how much of a finger Dio Madden has on the pulse of wrestling fans today? Ali has literally everything except for the size that the other two guys in the faction make up for. Like, and fucking Mia Yim and Mercedes Martinez, are you kidding me? Like, they're the two of the most popular women's wrestlers that haven't been given major pushes in the US right now. Like, this is a faction that could go from, yeah, whatever, they're heels, they suck, to over time people starting to respect how fucking good they are. And especially if Ali starts cutting promos basically similar to the way Daniel Bryan was when he was, you know, the planet savior Daniel Bryan. If Ali starts cutting promos about, oh, WWE's corrupt, we don't get health insurance, they're trying to take over our third party shit like with Twitch and with Cameo, they're trying to take money out of our pockets. You know, talk about T-Bar over here was getting featured in these amazing matches on NXT with Keith Lee. And then Keith Lee gets called up. Keith Lee gets featured on Survivor Series. Keith Lee, you know, gets this big deal stuff. And T-Bar doesn't get anything. Mace over here was on Raw's commentary team. He stood up for Jerry the King Lawler and got his ass beat. And what did he get in return? Replaced. Talks about fucking Slapjack getting an opportunity on Raw to team up with Brendan Vink with MVP. And he got fucking tossed into the trash for the Hurt Business. Like, he could basically literally address everything that Dominique's thread talked about in a promo, in multiple promos even. And if you're telling me that wouldn't get this group over as baby faces, I have a hard time believing that.
Actually, dude, you saying all of this, I just have to say one thing in response. This could be really good for Ali long term. And what I mean by that more broadly is, I know a lot of people, I mean, we got Kofi Mania out of it and that was fine, but I know a lot of diehard Ali fans were disappointed when they learned, and I could believe it, that like, oh, that was supposed to be his spot. Maybe long term it was for the best that it wasn't his spot. Because here's the thing. If they would have given Ali that spot right away, I'm not saying he wouldn't have carried it or he wouldn't have sorted it. We'll never know, right? But I would have worried about after the fact when they would have, like, shot him up that quickly. Like, it could have been a case where, like, Stephanie once roasted The Miz. We're like, oh, you peaked too early. Or in WWE's mind, like, oh, he peaked too early. I think when you have the kind of arc that Ali has had, that's what sets you up for life.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like if this works, he's going to get so much more mileage out of this than they would have given him everything right out of the gate.
Yeah.
And granted, like, I know he warred for it because he busted his fucking ass on 205, but I feel like it still would have been too much too soon long term. Because that's the thing. It's like Al Snow says, like, if you're a really good performer, you're going to go through cycles. But with WWE, they don't believe in that cyclical shit. Once you've hit the top and you go to the bottom, it's really hard to get back to the top. You just kind of live in the bottom. I want Ali to have a comfortable career where he's consistently used in some good shit. I think this is going to set him up. The way you described it, I'm like, man, if they pull this off, this is going to be so much better than if he would have just gotten the title in the first place, beating Bryan for it. Because it's going to mean so much more. And all that meat on that promo that you were just talking about, like, that's what gets you over with the fans for life, not just for a few months. And, like, Ali is the type of performer, I think he's worth that kind of lifetime investment. I hope that's what this garners for him, honestly. I hope that this, after all this, it isn't just another, oh, hey, we did a really good angle. Now you're going to, who's a contemporary jobber that's like a Zack Ryder type? Maybe like an R-Truth or something, or a Tozawa. Now you're going to, like, lose in an upset to Tozawa or some shit. You know, and it's like, God damn it. So I'd really like this to set him up long term, dude. I hope you're right about everything you're saying. Your enthusiasm pays off, because you've definitely got me vibing with it now.
Yeah, well, and dude, even here's just the thing. Two things that I want to address. First of all, Ali has never gotten significant promo time on one of the main roster shows, and I think this is where it starts.
Right. Agree with you there.
And really, even if he doesn't talk about the really salient shit that we want him to talk about, him just having an opportunity to talk in long form at all is a huge plus for him, because he's a goddamn amazing talker, right? So, but then the other thing that you got me thinking about, there was already a plan in place for him to be a fucking world champion just last year.
Exactly.
That tells me that they already saw that in him, and maybe this is their way of getting him back to that place again.
Yeah. I really think so, because come on, man. You can't be packing the kind of heat that he's packing in this faction and not give him the world time. I mean, WWE can. They definitely can. I'm just saying, us as viewers seeing it.
No, that just gives me more faith, really. It's like that tells me, like, okay, the WWE really wanted Ali to be a thing last year. he got hurt, and now they're building him back up. This might be the thing. This might be like them trying again, basically, because we know, like, again, it comes back to Vince picks the winners, and they gave Ali a big kind of hyped up return, and like it just seems like maybe Ali is just one of the guys that Vince really wants to push. I don't know.
Yeah, and if that's the case, I mean, good for him. Really, that's all I really have to say. Sincerely, like, good for that fucking dude.
Yeah.
I hope for it, and here's the thing too, because like I've been saying, that like I don't blame WWE for being more experimental. I wish they would experiment more with people we'd agree with. If they really go all the way to WWE, that's an experiment I could completely agree with. Let's see what he can do with the world title. Let's see how he does with the ratings. Let's see how he draws at venues and network subscriptions or whatever. Because I know AEW is still doing like the pay-per-view buy model and stuff because they're still on a traditional model. WWE having their own network has completely changed things for them. But like, I don't know. The pay-per-views that he was WWE champion, did network subscriptions see a big bump? I think he can do it. I believe in this dude. I just want WWE to believe in him too. And honestly, this whole back and forth, it's funny. Normally our back and forths are just how much we hate everything. This back and forth is actually giving me hope that WWE might really want this dude to win and that he might actually win. So let's hope for it.
Yeah. And the WWE wasted Nexus, but at the same time, we had no proof prior to Nexus that WWE was actually interested in turning any of those guys into main eventers. Whereas right now, we know Ali was going to win the WWE title from Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania last year. Kofi took his spot. Ali was going to have a 6-month title reign before dropping the title to Brock in a few seconds, like Kofi did, but Kofi got that spot instead. That would have been Ali had he not gotten injured when he did. Ali would have been in that spot. And it really, I don't know. I just think that, like, to me, that's the sign that I need to be invested in this, because that's like, okay, they wanted to do it. Vince has a tendency to, if somebody that he doesn't like gets injured, he'll be like, well, you're injury prone, I can't push you anymore. If somebody that he does like gets injured, he'll try again. And it seems like he's trying again now with Ali.
Well, I mean, goddamn, Vince, you got one right. I don't really know what else to say without getting redundant. I would just like to say one final time that long term, this could be the run that Ali, and when looking back on his career, that he would have affirmed over just getting hot shot at the belt, like beating Bryan and going on that run. Because here's the thing too, you're right. He would have been squashed by Brock in the original run. Now, hypothetically, if a guy like Brock stepped up to him, could he even beat Brock? Because he's got fucking Mason T-Bar now.
Yeah.
Like, him having a group like this, dude, I want people to understand me perfectly, and then I really am going to punctuate it because I really would have nothing else to say. Him having a group like this, I believe he can beat anyone.
Yeah.
Keith Lee, Brock Lesnar, like, I believe he could beat those guys. Why? Because one-on-one, yeah, those guys would probably murder him, but, like, with those guys and enough heel ingenuity, which I believe Ali has always come off as a very intelligent, sophisticated performer, that, like, yeah, I could picture him, like, setting the environment up to his advantage, that, yeah, I'm able to flex, use my group, and then there you go. Yeah, this is great for him. I think this is going to be so much better for him than if he would have gotten the title originally, and now I'm just ready for us to just go full steam ahead with it. So
yeah. All right, let's move on to SmackDown. The 10-2 SmackDown opened up with Roman. We got like a big dramatic video package, first of all, recapping the Clash of Champions match where Roman obliterated Jey Uso and kept telling him, acknowledge me as your tribal chief. Jimmy Uso comes out, throws in the towel, has to basically shove Roman off of Jey because he refuses to stop beating on him. And then Jimmy says, you're the tribal chief, man. Calm down. Get the hell away. And we get this whole segment now to start SmackDown last week, where we got a Heyman Reigns, Jey Uso promo discussion kind of thing, where Roman still wants Jey to acknowledge him as the tribal chief. He won't do it, and we get Hell in a Cell set up right off the bat.
Yeah, dude, I was cool with Clash of Champions being a one-off, but you know what? I'm liking how these guys are working together. We already had a nice discussion on the Twitch stream how, like, the stakes could just be, and we'll get into what the stakes are in a moment, just a way long-term to dovetail all of this into a faction for Roman and the Usos, like make the bloodline official in a way.
Yeah.
And I would be totally cool with that. Like, I am just loving everything Roman right now, and the Usos have always been great talkers, so even though this is kind of oozing with nepotism, at least they're leaning into it, and they're acknowledging the familial relations, and they're making that an integral part of the narrative.
Right, and they're making it so that the heel is the one that set up the nepotism in the first place. They're basically saying, like, Roman Reigns is the reason that Jey is getting this opportunity in the first place.
Right, and then that gives Jay kind of a complex because it's like I'm good enough to be the head of the table, and like I want to prove it. So like you've kind of got this Jey Uso with the fire in his belly. Like it's working for me, man. And again, like I just got done saying with Ali, I like different, so it'd be hypocritical of me to finally get different, especially with guys that I like and not a Jinder Mahal type situation, and be like, oh, I hate this. This sucks. And shut up. Like I'm enjoying it. It's good stuff right now. So let's see how much farther they can take it.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too, is that they set up a Hell in a Cell, and I was like, oh no, because my initial thought was that we only ever get 2 Hell in a Cells per pay-per-view, and we're going to end up with Orton, Drew, and Reigns Jay in a Hell in a Cell, so we're not going to get Sasha Bailey Hell in a Cell. And then last week they were like, Sasha versus Bailey for the women's title next week, and I was like, oh my god, they're really going to blow it off on an episode of SmackDown. But Mark never wavered, man. Mark was like, no, that's going to be a DQ. We're still getting it. And I was like, I don't know, man. We don't get more than 2 at a pay. And then, yeah, it all happened. Mark was right. We got Sasha versus Bailey this week, and that ended up getting turned into a Hell in a Cell. We'll talk about that later. But we also found out this week that Roman versus Jay will not only be a Hell in a Cell, and this is what Roman meant, because Roman said that it's going to have the greatest stakes in the history of WWE. Literally, he was not wrong. Because this isn't just a Hell in a Cell match. This is a Hell in a Cell I Quit match, which is the first time ever that a Hell in a Cell match has had an additional stipulation on it. So it literally is like the biggest stakes in the history of Hell in a Cell.
Yeah, I love it too, narratively speaking, because what really mattered to Roman was that acknowledgement. Like, he needs Jay to just say in so many words, like, I'm better than you. I'm the head of the table. Say it. And now, like, in a match that's totally predicated on speech, right? Making that concession to another person that they've beaten you so decisively. I once like how JBL phrased a I Quit match when he was feuding with John Cena, and they had theirs at Judgment Day 2005. When you beat a man so badly, when they say I quit, they own your soul. Roman Reigns wants to own Jey Uso's soul. He wants him to know, like, know your place. So I think narratively this is a brilliant twist, and I'm actually hyped for this, man. I really am. I'm hyped for the fight that Jay can bring in this, too. Because I think they're kind of teasing, especially with like the SmackDown Fallout exclusive kind of things on the YouTube channel, that Roman's kind of put him in a darker place. Not like in an edgy kind of way, but like in a, he already beat the shit out of me. What else is he going to do to me? Like, fucking do it. Let's do it. Let's throw down. So I'm excited for him, man. I think they're doing good stuff.
Yeah. All right. So I think that about covers the Roman Jay interactions, but we can kind of branch off of that because last week we did have AJ Styles confront Jey Uso, basically called him a big dummy, and then we got a match between the two of them. And I was shocked about this. Jey Uso actually defeated AJ Styles clean.
You know what? Maybe in another time I would have been more miffed about this, but one, AJ's so set in his career, and he is like in his 40s now, that I think it was really cool that a man of his caliber put Jay over. One, because I think he needed it after how he got, and I don't even mean to take the piss, but like he got abused at Clash of Champions. He needed this. And then knowing what happened with the draft, which part of me, Ashton, if I am jumping the gun, I apologize, but we know AJ's going to Raw. You're pushing the reset on him anyway. It's so good that he put somebody over on the way out, honestly. Yep. I really, really appreciate that. So yeah, I'm cool with all of this. And honestly, I'm glad they did this with Jay, and I wish they would have done this a bit more like before Clash of Champions, but they're doing it now. So you know what? We're all good. Good shit, man. Can't complain.
Yeah. It's weird, but I completely agree. This is all good stuff. Let's talk about the weird ass Otis and Tucker and AJ and Morrison and Miz stuff that's been going on lately.
Can I? I'm just gonna take the ball here.
Yeah,
and this is
please
probably
do.
This is probably the most I'm gonna complain all commentary. I went from being really excited about this, and I'm just going to be honest with my bias, because Morrison was doing something big involving a narrative device that gets you closer to the world title, and he's still treated like a joke, and if anything, this is more about Miz, which is fine, but, like, I don't know, if it's going to be about Miz, I would at least like Morrison to be severed from Miz as part of the bargain, and maybe even turn babyface, which I can't even believe I'm saying that, but, like, WWE has handled this so boringly to me that I want Morrison to be babyface now, because I feel like they used him more when he was babyface. It's so weird. But yeah, like, I just don't like this, one, because of the bias, and two, because, again, and we've kind of mentioned this a few times, in this commentary, WWE's internal structure, you don't know if they're coming or going, right? Because one week it's like, okay, this act's really hot or this angle's really hot. And like Raw Underground, I feel like they haven't done Raw Underground in a while. Have they just given up on it because it was like a ratings pop and now ratings are stagnating again? Are they like in a TNA kind of syndrome? Or at least the worst of Impact. Maybe it's gotten better now. But it's like, we're going to do this shocking title change. We're going to have this former washed up UFC fighter close the show. And we just got to keep thinking things just to keep popping the ratings week after week. And what I'm getting at is I hope they're not giving up on Otis. Because Otis may be a weird Money in the Bank choice, but here's my thing, dude. You have Roman who's killing it right now. We both agree on that. You're telling me that a guy that oozes the charisma that Roman does isn't necessarily classist, but the whole tribal chief thing, that's definitely like an allusion to power, right? Like, I'm a very powerful man, right? And you have Otis, who's totally blue collar through and through. You're telling me they can't have a fucking phenomenal title match? Like, if Roman and Jay had as great a match as they did at Clash of Champions, you can't tell me somebody as likable as Otis that may even have a fiery promo in him or two, like, couldn't have a great match with Roman. I hope they're not giving up on Otis, man. I hope that this is just a weird thing to buy him time, because I would like him, honestly, to cash it in face-to-face with Roman, and they do a title match, maybe even at the Royal Rumble. Give Otis that weird Royal Rumble title shot spot. Fuck it, they did with Hardcore Holly one year with the whole Brock Lesnar vendetta, he broke my neck. Otis versus Roman Reigns is a match I could get behind. And so, like, I don't want Miz to win the briefcase. Not that I don't want Miz to not be world champion again. He's already been a Mr. Money in the Bank. We've seen it. It was good. Actually, no, I can't lie. I didn't like it at the time. Miz has grown on me more now, so I guess revisionist history. But it was what it was. It's Otis's time now. I want them to commit to Otis. It's clearly not elevating Morrison. It's kind of getting goofy now with all the lawsuit shit. I thought we would have already made a match for the briefcase by now. So in a way, I think it's kind of middling now also. And yeah, ultimately, if I'm just putting my Morrison bias goggles down and just looking at it for what it is, don't give up on Otis. The dude's a huge asset. He's a very likable guy, and he gets it done in the ring. And I think him and Roman could surprise a lot of people, dude. So again, that's probably the most complaining I'm going to do, all commentary, because I think I've kept it pretty tranquilo up till now. But like, I think this one stings, because it had one of my favorite performers involved in this, and he's already jobbed Otis, like, I think twice in singles matches. So we know that he's not going to be competitive with Otis. And honestly, with Roman being in the pocket that he's in, I don't even know if I want Otis to lose it. I think I want the Otis-Roman Reigns matchup. But now that I've said all that, where are you with this, man?
Dude, I really like pretty much everything that you just said. I really love the idea of Otis kind of having to go through this whole struggle of just trying to keep his briefcase and then actually being able to cash in. But because he is like this super sweet blue collar guy, cashing in an honorable way and actually requesting a match, a formal match at a pay-per-view and getting it at Royal Rumble. I love that. And again, you were absolutely right. The Royal Rumble is like the perfect place for weird ass title matches that you wouldn't expect in other shows. And you even mentioned like the Hardcore Holly versus Brock Lesnar one. Like, yeah, exactly where I'm going with.
If you want something more recent too, Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens versus AJ Styles in a handicap match for the WWE title. Yep. That was Royal Rumble.
What what was the one where Jomo and Miz challenged Braun? Was that also at a Royal Rumble, or was that?
No, that was someplace. That might have been. I don't think it was a Money in the Bank. No, because that was
Extreme Rules.
No, oh, fuck, what was it? I forget what it was, and I don't want to stall too much because that'll kill the flow. But
it was after Mania, though, right?
It was after Mania, yes, but it wasn't a Royal Rumble.
Right. Okay.
That's all I know.
Right.
So yeah, man, like, and again, like, maybe I'm expecting too much of Otis, but okay, so I'm gonna say this, which is weird because I know we even had the conversation about the Rhodes family. I know you were like, yeah, even Dusty Rhodes is trying, and like, agreed, but like, a lot of people love the idea of Dusty Rhodes, right? And a lot of people love the Common Man promo. I think Otis is that kind of promo in him, dude. I really do. Yeah, like, I think you could look at Roman and be like,
that's the thing too, is like, we have to almost look at this through a political sphere, because it's like Roman is the political elite and Otis is like the common man, like the fucking, what was the fucking guy that they used back in the day, like Plumber Joe or whatever it was, like that type of, like he's.
Yeah, Joe the Plumber. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That's like the kind of role. And then, by the way, everyone in chat is now saying it was Backlash in June. So thank you to everyone in chat. But yeah, like that, like Otis could literally just, and that's the thing, like we always almost hope for it from our fucking presidential candidates in debates, like just cut one really heartfelt promo where you talk about how everyone else on this stage has these big money interests and you don't have any of those because you are doing this for the people and not for the corporations. And like, if Otis would cut one promo saying, "Oh, all Roman cares about is accumulating power. I just want to prove that some schmuck from insert whatever city and town here, city and state here Otis is even from. I don't even know. I couldn't tell you. Can hang with the best of them, maybe even be the best. You know, like he needs to talk about his upbringing. He needs to talk about where he came from, and he needs to talk about where he wants to go. That's all it is. It's that simple. And if he does that one time, it's going to be enough to really get the crowd behind him. And him just going against Roman is going to be enough to get the crowd behind him because it's heel Roman Reigns and people really boo him right now. Like he's really, really unpopular in that sense.
Yeah, man. And like, again, to circle back around, because I didn't mean to get us unfocused with my little rant. Like the whole contract disputes and everything, if it's just meant to get Otis more sympathy and just get Miz some heel heat, because again, it seems like he's cutting more out of the heel. Yeah, I don't think it's working either. Like, I honestly think it's like it's starting to middle. It's starting to kind of sputter around. I thought we should have had a match for the briefcase already. It's dragging on way too long.
Yeah.
And I think you need to get Otis to, beat some people. Like, it's funny, because what you're doing with Big E, which don't stop what you're doing with Big E, by the way, and we'll get to that a little later. You should also, in a way, kind of be doing that at the same time with Otis. Like, I know I hate the dude, but you should really be putting Otis in the ring with Corbin and having him getting wins over the likes of Corbin. And building him up that way.
Yeah, like the Corbins and Sheamuses of the world should be helping Otis to get over.
Exactly, the same way that, Sheamus just helped Big E get over, and I really do believe he genuinely helped him. I've got nothing but praise for Sheamus with the work he's done recently. Corbin should be doing that. Sheamus should also be doing that with Otis. And, yeah, you should do the straight-up cash in and just everything we talked about. I'm not going to go through that again because that would be redundant. But, yeah, you should be building him up as a contender. The idea that we're even flirting with the idea that he could lose his briefcase is worrying to me because last I heard, like, a lot of people are, like, over Otis, but Vince isn't, and Vince gets the final say. And for once, and I can't believe I'm saying this unironically, but we've been doing this, well, TWitWoW just in general for so long it was bound to happen. I stand with Vince McMahon here. That's really weird, and I feel the need to shower my mouth. But, yeah. Otis has a lot of upside. Don't give up on this dude. And again, I'm saying that at the expense of John Morrison, who I just want to be reset more than anything. But yeah, he's a good Mr. Money in the Bank. I think him and Roman could have like a kind of a sleeper matchup where people don't expect anything of it, and then they have it, and it's like, wow, that was really good. Granted, Roman would probably get a lot of the praise, but I think they could go and they could really do something special. So don't give up on the dude.
I think it would be interesting if they had their match, Morrison versus Otis, for the briefcase, and Miz cost Morrison the match.
Yeah, I want that actually at this point. Because, I think Morrison needs a reset. And again, the two things I never thought I'd say, I, again, stand by Vince with his support of Otis. And I think Morrison should turn babyface. They've just made me not care about him as a heel. That really sucks. But, they just let him do more compelling stuff whenever he's had a face run. So get rid of Miz, get back on track, and I think you could have some solid performers in Otis, Morrison, and yeah, even still heel Miz, who's become a really solid hand over the years, who I wish a few years ago would have gotten a title run. That's three solid guys right there. So I think we could do better with all three
guys. Dude, it was literally
good.
Just last year that he had the fucking WrestleMania match against Shane, and it felt like they were building him up as a future main eventer again.
Yeah, and it's like, God damn it, you guys just never want to commit to him again, which there would have been a point where I would have gotten it, but we're past that point. I'm like, why? Again, everything's so weird, God damn it.
Yeah. And Chiefin even makes a great point, too. Literally everyone involved with Otis's recent storylines has been shipped off to Raw. He lost Mandy originally. Now he lost his opponents. Morrison and Miz got drafted to Raw. And just today on Talking Smack, we found out fucking Tucker got drafted to Raw too.
Yeah. So either you're really looking to focus on Otis now because he has no distractions. I mean, what they would call distraction storyline, I would call a support system, and his antagonists in Morrison and Miz. So either you're really getting ready to take off with him, which I heard a lot of people say the same thing about Big E losing the New Day, or losing Kofi and Xavier more pointedly.
Yeah.
They both could be really ready to take off, or it could just be another middling thing where you feel really inspired at first and you're like, wait, where did I want to go with this? And we all collectively facepalm because it's like, wait, you didn't have a long-term plan? Then why the fuck did you take everything away from them that they could have fallen back on?
Yeah.
So we'll see, man. We'll see.
All right, man. We got a way more extensive conversation out of that than I expected us to, but I'm glad that we did. It was a good one. So, we might as well talk about the the new team Bro a Tree in Motion. Last week we had Corbin, Nakamura, and Cesaro versus Riddle teaming up with actually the Lucha House Party, Dorado and Metalik. I believe that Riddle, Dorado, and Metalik actually won that. But then this week we got a new team. We got the Bro a Tree in Motion team taking on Miz and Morrison, and Hardy and actually Jeff Hardy and Matt Riddle actually won the match. So I almost wonder, do you think that they are going to be pushed as a tag team going forward?
Probably, and honestly, God. Yeah.
I don't even know if this clicked for you, but the aesthetics of the weed guy getting paired up with the drunk guy.
Yeah, that did cross my mind.
And really just like the idea that they're putting Jeff Hardy, who they literally just acknowledged was 1 year sober, and they're putting him on a fucking team with like a guy whose entire gimmick is like, dude, weed.
Yeah, and God, Jeff could really ruin the legalized movement, because then he would just legitimize and embolden all the people that are like, see, it is a gateway drug if he hit the weed, and he ended up relapsing a little while later. Oh God, the whole thing's a disaster.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. God, I hate to be that guy, but again, speaking out, it's kind of tainted Riddle for me. I'm still waiting to see how everything's going there, because it seems knuckin' futz, to put it mildly. Jeff Hardy, I haven't cared about the last few years. Them beating Miz and Morrison, fucking great. Love seeing my favorite guy lose to people that I believe he's genuinely better than. I mean, Riddle I can understand, but fucking Hardy, Jesus Christ. You know, if it's a new tag team, cool, maybe, I guess. A tag team wrestling is shit in WWE. Why should any of us care? Really, it's a random tag team. Like, honestly, the idea of them even being called a tag team is laughable, because yeah, Jeff's a tag team specialist. Riddle was an NXT tag team champion with Pete Dunne, and shortly also with Thatcher, Timothy Thatcher. Almost had a brain fart there. So I guess maybe they can make it as a tag team with all their extensive experience. But tag team wrestling's never mattered to WWE, so I guess they'll have fun with it. They'll probably even be future tag team champions, dude, honestly. I mean, if we're really truthful, WWE gives so little about tag team wrestling.
Man. They've got some serious competition in the form of the Mysterios coming into town.
I still think they're going to do it, man. You know what my talking point has been about that. I still absolutely think they're going to do it.
Look, man, I'm legitimizing you. I'm completely on board. Like, I don't like it, but I...
Oh, yeah, I know, like, you're not contending it. I'm just saying, like, yeah, we're all on the same page, because you know I've been going hard. Like, they're totally going to do it. Yeah, so it was what it was. Really, what was even more bizarre was what happened after this match. Or did you want to save that for later and kind of go out of order? How did you want to...
Are you talking... Wait... what happened after this match that I'm not remembering?
Well, Lars Sullivan returning.
Oh, God, yeah, well, shit.
I didn't want to jump the gun, man. I apologize.
I mean, there's nothing else that he's done, so this is the perfect time to talk about him, yeah.
So how we feeling? I'm honestly shocked he didn't get fired.
Did you see my tweet from last night? I tweeted.
No, you know what? Can you just let me pull it up though? Because I'd like to give kind of a quasi live reaction to this.
Yeah, sure, man, sure.
Let me go on my wrestling.
Should be my most recent tweet, other than like the plugs of stuff.
You have a lot of great takes. I retweet them, so this should be good. Let's see. Live reactions. Do you want? Okay, there it is. There it is. Patrick was a trial run for Lars. Triple H trotted Patrick out there as a heel and put him against lower card babyfaces, and it worked. It got the babyfaces more over because people wanted them kick Patrick's ass. Now Vince has a green light to do the same with Lars. More or less agree, except Lars is going to be the one doing the ass kicking, which might actually be worse. I don't know. It's weird for me, man. I don't think we can lie about it. It's weird for you too, isn't it? Or no? Are you just kind of like, okay? Like, where are you with this? Like, I mean, I know where you are with this to a point with the tweet, but like, just going forward.
I think there almost has to be a degree of cognitive dissonance to watch WWE at all right now, given everything that we know about what's going on backstage, like with... there's no healthcare. Vince is fucking taking over their social media. And I don't know if you've seen all the details, but apparently WWE is going to now be in control of their Twitch channels and taking a majority of their income from the Twitch. And
oh my God.
No. It gets worse. but they will be paying the superstars a percentage of the money they make on Twitch, which will then count against their guaranteed minimums.
Oh my god, I've been doing so well all commentary, but this might be it. I just fucking
They literally
unionize.
have guaranteed minimum salaries in their contract that they're not allowed to be paid less than, no matter how little they work. And the money that they get paid from Twitch will now count against that.
Dude, I feel really dirty.
They're not even getting paid full for the Twitch. They're getting paid a percentage of it.
I feel really dirty even talking about this fucking company. Like,
Yeah.
I just feel so disconnected from WWE. Like, I don't care. Like, it's funny because, like, I don't like AEW. But if the choice was, okay, if you really mean that about WWE, but you got to pad it out with something, cover AEW, I am so close to being like, okay. Because, like, they are so fucking dirty. Oh, my God. It's gross, dude. Like, I don't like all the gross things that I'm doing lately, because, you know, I've already talked that I'm probably going to vote Biden and, you know, swallow my fucking medicine. We cover WWE. They're a fucking shit company. It's gross. And then, of course, my own behaviors. Like, if I'm really going to be honest, I already told you, I've been shopping on Amazon a lot this year. Bezos is fucking gross. I don't like how this society just, like, forces you to be gross. Oh, God, I feel dirty. God, this company. Oh, my God. That's so bad. That's so bad. Independent contractors, my fucking ass.
Yeah.
Ew.
It's funny because we saw one tweet from Paige talking about how she's learning about unions. Haven't heard a peep since, and we're probably never going to hear anything about it again.
How much do you bet? How much do you want to bet they got a hold of her? Like, oh, hey, I want to talk about that word you just used. Never fucking use it again. Like,
I think she might want out, though, dude. She might even want out. She might have done that to try as a way to try and get fired, because she literally also, she just tweeted, you know, like a fucking thirst trap, like a sexy picture of herself, where she's basically saying, like, I've been cleared for 2 years now. Can I please get back on the, you know, back on the field, basically. She said back on the field, or, you know, put me in, coach, or something along those lines. But she wants to wrestle again at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So she might be trying to get out. I don't know. But see, here's what I hate about this situation. Wrestlers should form a union right now, right?
Right.
Here's the thing. Who's affected by this? AJ Styles, Xavier Woods, Paige, Mia Yim. Who else streams on Twitch? Tyler Breeze. I think AJ is the biggest name, though. I think it's safe to say that AJ Styles is the biggest name, right?
Yeah.
Guess who isn't affected by this, though?
Roman Reigns, probably. And
Roman Reigns, Drew McIntyre, Seth Rollins, Rey Mysterio, basically all of the biggest names. Randy Orton sure as shit isn't affected by this. All of the biggest names, hell, fucking Becky Lynch isn't affected by this. All the biggest names in WWE are not affected by this, which brings us back to another Hogan situation, where if the people who are affected by this try to unionize, and the people at the top of the card who are really pushed as biggest deals rat them out, we could end up seeing it get fucking squashed again.
Yeah.
And let's be real, I don't know if Drew would rat them out. I don't think Roman would rat them out. Seth, though?
Yes, that's kind of a wild card to me.
Seth is a fucking songbird, dude. Seth is the company, like, Seth is the epitome of a company guy. This dude is unwilling to admit fault with WWE ever in public. You're trying to tell me he is going to help unionize? Hell the fuck no. He is the first. If anything comes out, like that there's like a mass firing that involves a bunch of Twitch streaming people, and it comes out that they were trying to form a union and somebody ratted him out, the first name on my mind is going to be Seth Rollins. That dude is such a fucking teacher's pet with Vince. Yeah, even Chiefin said Seth is a fucking snitch.
Yeah, and you know what? Like, I didn't want to be hyperbolic with any potential rant that I would go on. I've calmed down a little bit. Here's what concerns me about WWE being a corporation. Because, again, to go back to another company that I hate, but that I, you know, admittedly do give a lot of money to, I'm always going to at least be consistent and be honest. Amazon. I had seen a little while ago, and I was able to track it down, Amazon, an internal memo got leaked that they've been using software to track unions in their company.
I saw that. Yeah, we've been aware of that for a little while now, haven't we?
Well, I mean, we've just been aware for a while that Amazon has had a litany of anti-union strategies, and
Right.
this is WWE. WWE will do the exact same thing.
Yep.
If you don't think WWE would do the exact same thing, which I'm not saying any of you would, I think we all have a pretty low opinion of the company. They absolutely would. They absolutely would, and because Javaris even said something about they're going to be obligated to give them their social media passwords. Well, if you have the social media passwords and say you don't like something that somebody tweeted, you can log on without them knowing and be like, oh, they've been secretly DMing other people in the company about, secret meetings or whatever. Now, again, I don't mean to be hyperbolic with that, but corporations are going to maintain their own power. That's the essence of what I'm trying to say here. So what sounds like hyperbole, like, oh, come on now, John, you're just being ridiculous. Like, we know you're a communist, but stop, like, pushing the shit. No, this ain't about, like, leftism or communism. This is just about how corporations function in their own interest.
Yeah.
Because I've even seen Target was another big company. They had, I don't know what year this was or what time this was, so don't, like, press me on that. But I do remember a story about how, employees were unionizing because they wanted better pay. You know what happened? They fired them all and they automated their jobs. This is the only part of automation that scares me, is automation for the ruling class. Because if it's automation for the ruling class, we are all fucked. And my point being, big companies will find a way to make you expendable and will find a way to quash your efforts no matter what they are. And that's exactly what would happen here, because none of those people that stream, except for AJ, are big. And let's be honest, AJ definitely seems to be more conservatively principled, so he's probably anti-union. Only he would know that for sure, but that's just an educated assumption.
Yeah, see, I think AJ would be down for a union. I feel like AJ is less anti-union and more just like anti-SJW type.
Yeah. And I don't know, though, because I feel like any of those guys, maybe they wouldn't want to let them compete, but they'd find a way to make life hell for them, I guess.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, look at how they've done it for talents that just wanted to leave. Talents that wanted to maybe leave and or start a union or keep their income. Like, any kind of resistance, just to package it nicely, WWE will make your life hell. They will. They absolutely will. So this whole thing sucks. I hate it. I actually hate it more than anything in the actual program, more than Dominic Mysterio, more than not, because this is real life shit. And these are real fucking people. And these are dirty fucking practices. This is gross. What were we even talking about before all of this? What was
Lars.
the storyline?
Lars.
Fucking Lars.
Because the whole idea was like the cognitive dissonance of like watching this show and trying your best to enjoy the product while simultaneously knowing how much of an absolute shit show it is behind the scenes and how awful everyone is that's running the show.
And you know what I'm going to say about that, man? And first of all, thank you for actually going on to the thread for a change. I really appreciate it. It's not that you're wrong. Everything I'm about to say isn't to make the point that I disagree with Ashton. On the contrary, I do agree with you. I think what goes underappreciated, though, is how mentally and emotionally exhausting upholding that dissonance is. Because, like, here's the thing, right? And again, I'm just going to be consistent. I'm able to watch Chris Benoit matches, and everybody knows the Benoit tragedy. He was, evil, horrible, everything everybody says. I think why I'm able to do it, though, is, like, he's dead. He can't hurt anybody else, and the people he did hurt, it's fine. And the places where I watch them, it doesn't monetarily boost WWE because they don't even want to acknowledge that he existed anyway. So nobody is financially profiting from me watching, except maybe the random YouTubers that, like, upload the content or Daily Motion uploaders or whatever, right? It's no big conglomerate or whatever, like, on that level. And just, again, the harm was already done, as horrible as it was. But with things like this, the harm's going to keep being perpetuated. Even when Vince dies, the harm's going to keep being perpetuated because Shane or Stephanie's going to step in because it's more capitalism than any one individual person.
Right, yeah. This is like, at the end of the day, this doesn't come down to Vince bad. This comes down to anything to please the shareholders.
Exactly. Fucking Milton Friedman. God damn it. Fucking hate capitalism so much. So to me, it's a qualitative difference there.
God, don't you love it when people attack capitalism as a way to be like, yeah, but also at least it's not feudalism?
I know you guys can't hear that, but I rub my temples counterclockwise because I could really be hearing the tumor be like, can I play now? And I'm like, no, 5 more minutes. Yeah.
I've been hearing that argument a lot more lately of people saying like, you might not like capitalism, but it's the only successful economical system that's ever worked in history. And it's like, I mean, like, socialism and communism have never really actually been tried. And the only other alternative is fucking feudalism, which is like the thing that evolved into capitalism in the first place.
And just to tack on, not to like quibble with you, but I also want to add when it has been tried in, like revolutionary Latin America, like Cuba, Venezuela, parts of Africa, elsewhere,
It
the
gets
U.S. will
disrupted.
like fucking
Yeah.
disrupted with sanctions and
Yeah.
military presence. Fucking, I have no opinions on Gaddafi in Libya, but he wanted to do big shit. Like he even had something like a little green book where electricity was paid for, everybody had housing and this and that. U.S. sanctions had him concede to the U.S. like, okay, well, we'll open up our land to you guys again. US is fucking evil. WWE is fucking evil. Everything is evil except for Juice because he's a sweet boy. So fucking Lars. Yeah.
Yeah, and that brings us back to Lars because like we know that he said some hateful shit and like it's terrible that he said that, but also his change or recovery or however you want to describe it, his improvement from then, we don't know if he has. We don't know at all. We heard rumors that he went around and he apologized to basically every black superstar, for the comments that he made all those years ago. But like, we don't know. We can't, from the outside, we can't gauge somebody's heart.
Exactly. I guess for me, man, I just wish people were better about owning their shit. Because honestly, and I can't speak for any of our audience who Lars's remarks were directed at, and that's entirely their right. But for me, I'd appreciate if he was like, "Yeah, I said it, and you know what? At the time, I meant it, and it was freaking horrible, and I'm really sorry, and I'm not gonna make excuses about it was a hard time in my life or this and that. No, I said it. That's all that needs to be said is I said it, and I'm sorry about it. And now every day of my life, I'm gonna strive to listen, to be in dialogue with the people that I hurt." And to dispel my ignorance about these issues and to just be better going forward. Because that's what I don't like about most apologies. It's always the backpedaling spread in. Like I was going through a hard relationship or, I had a rough childhood. And like, yeah, that could all be valid. I'm not saying that that's not valid. I'm just saying, though, I think you're just trying to dilute the materiality of the harm that you caused. Like, just own it and move past it. And I feel like with Lars, I don't even know. I know you said something about how it was said like you went around the locker room and he talked to people and he apologized. I don't know how sincere that was. Only he would know that, right? But then again, we come back to it puts us in the difficult position of because only he can know that, it's up to us to do the labor. The emotional labor, again, of the cognitive dissonance of fashioning our own relationship with these performers. Because where it stands right now, I don't want a relationship with Matt Riddle. I don't want a relationship with the people that I used to really like. Velveteen Dream, who used to be one of my fucking favorites.
Yeah, and Dream is another, like, I think it's weird because, like, Lars, his big shit was, like, I think, like, 8 to 12 years ago, somewhere around there. Dream's shit is recent. Like, for all we know, Lars could be a completely different person by now. Dream's shit just fucking came out, like, a month or two ago, though. Like, Dream's shit is, like, like I said, for all we know, Lars could be a completely different person. He could be, doing all kinds of research. He could be really learning, trying to make the world a better place. We don't fucking know because he's never really on social media anymore. He used to be with the whole like weird like gimmick where he had like an assistant tweeting for him and shit like that. But like none of that shit is going to apply now because he's still a heel. So he's not going to start like tweeting positive things about the world. But with fucking Dream, he's still actively a piece of shit. Like he could be trying to fucking court young boys on Twitter right now as we speak.
Yeah, but don't worry, that's just the immaturity talking. So it sucks. It fucking sucks because then you put.
Now, granted, I mean, dude, at the same time, fucking Lars could have not changed at all. Lars
exactly
could literally be trolling on 4chan, throwing out N-words like it's nothing, the same way that he was all those years ago. We don't know that. That's the problem, though, is that we don't fucking know anything about the situation.
And yeah, you just literally articulated what I was getting at. And again, I say that you're right because you literally just went through it. This kind of back and forth, he could be this, but he could also be this. You're putting the emotional onus on the viewer to fashion the relationship with your product, which is the performers, just in an individuated sense. Every performer is your product in aggregate. I don't want a relationship with Matt Riddle. I don't want a relationship with Velveteen Dream. And again, like I said, that really fucking hurts because there was a time before all this shit happened. He was one of my all-time favorites. Now I can't stand the sight of the dude. I liked Lars as a heel. I liked him more as like a beast from X-Men kind of heel. This monster that's intelligent. Then all this shit came out. And it's like, yeah, we all say stupid shit. Look, I'm not going to act like I was above it. I made horrible, like lowbrow jokes that were definitely like racist at times in high school. But I'd like to think I did a complete fucking 180 with like a lot of my rhetoric and stuff. But I'm not going to tell you like, oh, it was a hard time then. No, I was stupid. It was stupid. I was friends with people that also were really actually trash now that I look back on it as an adult. And it was horrible. But like, I've listened to people, I've read the literature, some of it, I've engaged in dialogue, I've worked on myself in that way. I'd like to believe that Lars and other people can do that, and I do believe people do that. But like, you gotta show us, but at the same time, you can't show us in the ring. What are you gonna do? Stop mid-match and be like, wait, go into the ring and wear like a Black Lives Matter tee? Like, I don't know how you do that. Yeah. So then again, it goes back on us, like, well, what do we want to do? Well, what I want to do is not feel gross watching this shit. Like, I want to be able to enjoy it, and that's why I'm actually grateful for the language barrier, because I'm sure Japanese wrestling has its own fucked up shit to go all the way full circle back to the beginning. But I can't understand it. And then when that breaks out in English and there are English translations, well, then I guess that'll be ruined for me too. Maybe wrestling's just a trash industry all around. And I wish it was better, because it really sucks, because there are genuinely good guys like Ali and like Brian, but they seem to be, and Sami Zayn, but they seem to be the minority. And so Lars is going to get a push. He destroyed everybody. Actually talk about what the fuck he did. He destroyed everybody. And now he's going to be in the Monday talent pool. If he stays on Raw... Did
he even destroy Riddle? I didn't catch it.
I think he did. The only person he didn't destroy was Morrison, because Morrison got away. But yeah, like, Lars, if he stays on Raw, I guarantee you he'd probably feud with Drew before the end of the year. I could see them totally making up for lost time with Lars, because he missed a lot of time. And I feel like WWE is going to be like, okay, we're just getting ready to go right here. Because if Braun gets drafted to SmackDown or whatever, he'll be the SmackDown guy, because, again, he is getting the Universal title shot. If Lars goes to Raw, him and McIntyre are definitely having a program for that title. I'm convinced. And they're going to push him. And I'm just going to be rooting for Drew, because I like Drew as champion, and he doesn't skeeve me out like the rest of these guys. But good for Lars, I guess. I don't fucking know, dude. It's a horrible thing. It's a horrible situation.
Yeah.
So.
I think this is just one of those situations where, again, the onus falls back onto the company for not handling it better at the end of the day.
Exactly, dude. Like, again, going to Dream, who I think is far and away the worst one right now, there hasn't even been a formal police investigation. So, again, fuck the police, too. Because you have time to enforce racist laws and, like, give more justice to fucking...
Dude, did you hear about the porcupine?
What happened?
Oh,
I didn't hear anything about this.
I'm about to piss you off even more. I'm so sorry. Apparently, 2 police officers were actually fired for animal abuse because they beat the shit out of a porcupine.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I mean, fuck them, but you can do that for a porcupine, and again, you could get justice for drywall, but Black lives in the police system in the white supremacist state don't matter.
Yeah.
And, again, and I don't fucking know. Everything's fucking toxic. What happened after this? Because fuck Lars and fuck everything here, so what happened after this?
So I was just going to kind of tangent because we were talking about Jeff Hardy.
Of course.
Did challenge Sami Zayn for the Intercontinental title last week and lost.
Oh, yes, that's right. Good. Sami is the rightful Intercontinental champion and the one that I recognize, so totally the right call.
Yeah, I mean, if I remember correctly, Sami either got himself disqualified or walked out or something like that.
Okay, so of course title change can't happen via disqualification. So, yeah, it'll make sense to me.
Oh, no, he actually won clean. That's right.
Even better, Jeff's out of the way.
Yeah. Hardy went for a whisper in the wind, but Sami tripped him and his head hit the exposed turnbuckle. And yeah, that was what allowed Sami to win. So, I mean, clean in strong air quotes, but you get the idea. Let us move on to Sheamus. And Sheamus' relationship with Big E, because on last week's episode, Sheamus beat Shorty G in, if I remember correctly, a relatively short match. It was pretty much just like, I'm going to avoid a bro kick, and then I'm going to suplex you, but you're going to no-sell the suplex and hit me with a bro kick, and that's it. So, Sheamus beat Shorty G last week, and then was Big E on last week? I'm trying to remember. I don't think he was. I don't think Big E was on SmackDown last week. But he certainly was on this week because he had a Falls Count Anywhere match with Sheamus that was kind of a banger, low-key.
Yeah, if we had a category for awards for like surprising feud of the year for like a feud that was surprisingly good, this would be it to me.
Yeah.
I didn't expect to enjoy their matches, both of them, Payback and this Falls Count Anywhere match, as much as I did. I've really got to give credit to Sheamus. I think the dude's like 40 years old now, and
he's older
done
than 40.
Couldn't be any more than 42, I would think.
He is 42. He is 42.
Yeah, 42. And putting on, I think, some of the best matches in his career at this late of a stage against Big E.
He's going full strong style, man. I'm proud of him.
I'm proud of him too, man. It works for him. It really works for him. Him and Big E did good stuff. A lot of inspired spots. You know, Sheamus threw flour and egg on Big E. He's like, "You like pancakes? You like pancakes?" And just kind of spread it all over him.
You need eggs for pancakes?
Yeah. They did the stuff with the vehicles. You know, Sheamus got white noise on the hood of the car again. That was pretty well done.
Yeah, that was the other thing about this match that kind of threw me a little bit. They were both really bloody by the end of this match. And like, not just like, oh, I'm going to blade and cut my forehead one time and just get covered in blood because I took a fucking aspirin earlier. No, like straight up, both of them had multiple cuts from multiple different bumps that they had taken throughout this match. So like, yeah, it was like, this was like a really physical match. And there was real legitimate bloodshed between both of these guys through the physicality.
Yeah. And it really put Big E over because he won decisively here, just like he did at Payback. It was a Big E ending off the car through a table. It was a beautifully done spot. Big E gets the win. I love how they're building this dude up. I say again, and I say until we get there, Big E versus Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. Give it to me.
Yeah.
That's it. That's it.
So now let's just kind of transition into the other New Day related news from this week, because our main event this week, or not main event, our semi-main event this week was the New Day themselves, Xavier Woods and Kofi, reuniting with Big E and immediately being put in a championship opportunity against Nakamura and Cesaro for the SmackDown Tag titles, which they won. But then immediately afterwards, because of the draft, they got sent to Raw. So the SmackDown Tag Team Champions are now on Raw, separate from Big E on SmackDown.
Yeah. Good for New Day, I guess. It's so weird that they're 7-time Tag Team Champions. But, yeah, it was solid effort from them. I like Cesaro and Nakamura as champions. I'm kind of disappointed like it's already over, but I'm sure there'll be like one more match between the two teams. And, you know, I think they have good chemistry, so I'll be down to see it. But, yeah, they got the win. New Day is going to go down as one of the greatest tag teams in WWE history. I feel like they kind of already have. And, yeah, good for those guys. They fucking worked their asses off for it, and they're in a really comfortable spot right now. And you know what? Good for them, because I think there was a time when Xavier Woods and maybe Big E and maybe even Kofi were kind of in a more precarious position in their careers. And look how set they've made themselves. You'll love to see it, honestly.
Yeah. All right. So speaking of the draft, we had a few things move from Raw to SmackDown definitively this week. I think the first one that we're going to talk about is the Rollins-Murphy stuff, because both of them were drafted to SmackDown. Obviously, so were the Mysterios, and we already kind of talked about the Mysterios and Seth, but now let's kind of work Murphy into the mix and talk about that whole thing, because that is now a SmackDown thing. I don't know if you saw, but I believe Seth is now calling him the SmackDown Savior instead of the Monday Night Messiah. And with Murphy, this whole thing has really been boiling over the last couple of weeks on Raw, but obviously now it's moving to SmackDown.
Yeah, I like Murphy, man. I just want him to succeed and do well. You know, I think him on SmackDown would have been a good move if him and Seth were separated. I still kind of want to see him and Seth wrestle, but only if Murphy goes over, and I have no certainty in that whatsoever. And the whole Mysterio storyline, you know, that's a weird topic too, because I know we were even kind of talking about it, because I know you've had conversations about it like in the Discord, you know, with Aaliyah Mysterio defending Murphy, and a lot of people are thinking it's a romance angle. Now, I'm going to say something potentially ignorant and controversial here, but let me just get context first, because you know I've checked out this product. I know about the text messages that Aaliyah and Murphy sent that Seth tried to use that to kind of wedge tension in the Mysterio family.
Yeah.
And I know, like, Murphy apologized and stuff like that. Has it been anything else, though, that could tip the hand of, like, oh, my God, they're going to, like, ship these guys as, like, a romantic thing? Am I missing anything that I should know about before I make my statement and potentially put my foot in my mouth?
I mean, Murphy did attack Seth on this past episode of Raw.
I did see that. Because see, like, what I'm getting at is...
Yeah, I'm more wondering what you're looking for here beyond just the fact that they're teasing that.
Well, yeah, did he like, ever... Oh, God, it's going to be weird how I phrase this. Did they ever, like, talk face-to-face, Murphy and Aaliyah, and maybe kind of, like, touches her a certain way, like, on the shoulder, like, oh, you know, I'm always here for you kind of thing, implying, like, oh, you know, that's kind of skeevy because it seems like it's going to be romance because we're already talking about the age difference with Murphy, like, being in his 30s and Aaliyah being 19. I'm just asking, is there anything more that could tip it as, like, a romance angle than what we've already seen and kind of addressed? You know, the text messages, like, oh, hey, you know, checking on you, apologizing, and now Murphy attacking Seth. Nothing other than that? Nothing fucking crazy, right?
Yeah, I think it really is just, like, she keeps insisting he's not like Seth, he's not like Seth.
See, yeah, and, like, okay, so I'm just going to say it, because that's the best way, is for me to just say what I've been wanting to say about this. You know, I don't know. I understand people's discomfort, but, like, I'm almost wondering if WWE is just ignorant and they're not reading the room and they meant this storyline to be different, because here's how I see it. It's the same way when Sasha and Bayley, and Sasha was like, I love you. I hated a lot of male wrestling fans, even, you know, some that I'm like, oh, I thought you would have been more thoughtful about that. That's like, what, they're not even going to kiss? It's like you couldn't even wrap your head around that two women could really love each other, like, as friends, right? And it's almost weird, like, our tendency to look for the sexual in some things. Maybe with Aaliyah, it's like, you know, the Mysterio family, I'm not saying there's, like, God involved in this, but you can definitely tell they're a religious family. You know, seeing the good in everybody and that everybody's worth redemption. Because she's even said, like, to Dominic, he's not like Seth. He's not like Seth. So maybe the whole story is, like, oh, the Mysterio family, even though we treated them like dirt, you know, Aaliyah saw the good in me. She saw that I could be better than this, and I'm grateful to her for seeing the good in me. And again, I understand why people are weirded out by that, but I think you can do that story tastefully. I think you can do the story tastefully of, like, I was involved with a really crazy dude in Seth that did really shitty things. I was a part of those shitty things, and I even did them because I wanted to belong, because Seth made me feel accepted. But these guys made me feel even more accepted, and I didn't have to sully my soul for them to accept me. So screw you. It's almost like a redemptive thing for Murphy. Because I
think that the most recent thing that Murphy has done was when he was attacking Seth, he was telling Seth to apologize to Aaliyah.
Right. And again, I can understand how people are a bit weirded out by it because of the age dynamics. I'm just saying that I'm not reading too deep into that. I look at this more as a redemption storyline for Murphy because Aaliyah was the only one sensible enough while everybody else is trying to kill each other to try kindness. And I know that's cheesy as fuck, but that's what I think WWE is trying to say. These guys have been trying to kill each other. Literally eye for an eye matches with Ray and Seth. And Aaliyah's just like, hey, you know, you're a human being, and I know you've done shitty things, but you haven't done shitty things to me, and you're cool with me, and I want you to know, like, I don't know, I don't hate you, and just showing kindness. And then Murphy's like, wow, somebody that's kind to me and doesn't slap me and mistreat me, because they've even shown a lot of segments where Seth is just straight up abusing Murphy, like, even before the dissolution, right? And so Aaliyah's trying a little bit of kindness, and it's like, wow, I'm being treated with kindness. In a way, I find the message gross, because you could just as easily say, because I even read something last night that's like, oh, you know, we shouldn't be cheering for Trump to die because he's a human being. And I'm like, you know, there's a time for that, and now's not the time. And there's definitely, like, I do think forgiveness as a concept needs to be more nuanced in the discourse than what it is. But I think that is the story WWE is trying to tell, is like, Murphy isn't beyond redemption. Aaliyah has her heart open to Murphy's redemption. Let's stop sexualizing it or like coding it as sexual. If WWE does that, like if they share like a kiss or a weird touch or whatever, then I'm going to be like, yeah, okay, you can get all the criticism back on now. But I haven't seen it, so maybe let's shift perspective and look at it more as Aaliyah trying something different than the rest of the Mysterio family and actually getting results. You get more flies with honey than with vinegar, is I think what this story's thesis pretty much is.
Right.
So I don't know if that was a shit thing for me to say or an ignorant thing for me to say.
No, that's a really interesting theory. I actually, it's nice to hear somebody talk about this angle as anything other than like, oh, it's problematic because of the age difference.
Yeah, because dude, here's the thing, and maybe that's why, if I'm being truthful, maybe that's why I was uncomfortable talking to you about it that one night. And we talk about a lot of like personal and political stuff anyway, but I think it was more just like, if I didn't phrase my position right, would people think that I thought this was okay? because like it's a really weird subject for me, and I'm not even going to claim to like have concrete opinions on it. Because again, I want to be honest with you guys. I don't want to lie and be disingenuous. I don't. Like, that's why I keep this stuff private, because I'd rather just listen and then come to my own conclusions, like based on everybody that I'm, listening to. But I don't even see that in this. I really just see like, because you even see Dominic being like, "Oh yeah, Dad was right, Aaliyah. You are naive." And like that's hurtful, because maybe I'm not naive, maybe you're naive in WWE's mind, thinking that violence is going to solve this, because violence begets more violence. Like it really is. I think WWE is doing the cheesiest of cheesy storylines, because think about how long this angle's lasted, and all they've done is kill each other. Aaliyah's probably going to end this storyline faster than anybody, because she was just kind to the fucking people involved. Well, not Seth, but Murphy, and then Murphy may take care of Seth. That would be fucking beautiful. Again, it would be cheesy as shit and completely detached from any discernible reality in the world we're living in. But yeah, that's the thesis. Violence begets more violence. Aaliyah tries to be peaceful and opening her heart to somebody that hasn't done a wrong to her and Murphy. And look at how Murphy's changed. He's changed more with love than getting kendo stick to death. Kendo stick to death only pushed him further into Seth's arms and in his control. Aaliyah, showing him kindness, actually broke the control Seth had from him away. That's the fucking thesis. So why are we sexualizing this shit? That's what I wanted to say. If I'm a shitbird for saying it, fucking come at me, I guess.
Why would anybody be angry at you for saying that?
I don't know, because maybe they feel like I'm trying to cover up for them, and it is weird, and I'm not thinking about this logically enough, because I am a man that is like close to his 30s. So maybe I have a skewed perspective, but I don't see anything sexual in this. I've already made my case. So I guess whatever you guys think of my case, that's why we're here. So do you have any thoughts you want to add to that?
No, you've given me a whole new perspective on this. I hadn't even thought of the possibility that it wasn't going to end up with them being in like a relationship of some kind. So I'm glad that you said that, because yeah, like it really, you're 100% right. Like when you said, has there been any actual proof that this is going to go somewhere sexual? I couldn't think of anything. And that alone was like, holy shit. No, there hasn't. Maybe it isn't going there at all.
Yeah. And like, this is why, one last thing, and maybe this is taking me too far. This is something that does kind of annoy me about wrestling fans sometimes. Because again, it goes back to the Sasha Bailey thing. When we saw that moment, you and I and a lot of other people, because I'm not going to lump you or our Chad into this. And Chad, if you were one of these people, I'm not mad at you, okay? We can all be honest. I've been honest about my shortcomings on this. But like everybody that was like, are we going to get a lesbian angle with Sasha Bailey? I had to facepalm. I'm like, where the fuck did you see that? This is about friendship and love, and about how one person can deeply affect another person. That's pretty much this, albeit in a different vein. It's not all, and I get why they'd go there, I guess, in a way, but it's weird that that's immediately what you go to. Come on, guys. Like, it's not even the Attitude Era anymore. If they were going to do a romance angle, I don't even think it would be that tasteless. Literally, the most tasteless thing they've done has been with Drake and Jake Maverick trying to consummate his marriage, and that's been more comedy than anything, and even that hasn't overstepped a line. So I think we just need to pump the brakes and look at what WWE is actually saying. These guys have been trying to kill each other. That's gotten anybody nowhere, and it's just continuing, and it's going to last forever. And Aaliyah's probably going to be the hero in this story because she tried something different. She tried love and a pacifist approach rather than kendo sticks and chairs and taking literal eyes out. So, yeah, I think it's a story that preaches the values of nonviolence and loving your neighbor. So, There you go.
I dig it, man. I dig it. I love that. I guess, can we move on? Is that like, do we want to call that?
Yeah, if you really liked what I said and you have nothing to add to it, I don't want to be redundant. So that was really what I wanted to get off my chest. And
all right, then let's talk about Kevin Owens coming to SmackDown, because last week he was on SmackDown hosting a KO show with Alexa Bliss. God, can I just say, I want to like Alexa Bliss for some reason. I don't know why. Maybe there is like some kind of attractive thing in there. I don't know. But like at the end of the day, I just naturally want her to do stuff that I enjoy. Like I want to like her. I want her to be entertaining. I want her to succeed. Her performance on KO show to me was so cringeworthy. Like, I get that she's supposed to be in a trance and that she's trying to act like she's in a trance, but it came off as so try-hard and completely disingenuous, and it like completely threw me off.
Yeah, dude. God, this is real. This catch-up commentary really has hit different in the latter half, huh? Because I just had my whole spiel about how I see the storyline, which I'm so grateful you liked, and our chat actually seems to be like, yeah, John, I get you, which I love you guys for that. Thank you. And yeah, with this, it's like, I don't hate Alexa, but I will say, and I do appreciate her actually trying, but I think, God, and I'm not trying to make this a bit. That's also kind of the problem because it seems a little try hard. And I don't know if it's just me. I think this Alexa thing is the first time I thought this whole Fiend, like everything was a little bit hokey for me. And that's what, because it is like a guy in a really cool clown mask and this and that. And you'd think it would have been hokey long ago, but I think it's starting to push that line for me a little bit.
See, and for me, it's funny you bring up a first time anything, because for me, this was the first time that I ever really thought, like, wow, Alexa Bliss really isn't a good actress at all, is she?
No.
God, like, she's a really good expresser. She's really good at, like, expressing, like, facial expressions and emoting and stuff. But, like, the actual acting part, I used to think she was good at it because, like, she could cut good heel promos and stuff like that. But, like, that's her fucking zone. If she goes out of her zone, she does not nail it at all.
Yeah. Honestly, dude, I want Fiend to be kind of done with it. And it's, like, I shouldn't be mad, but is it weird that I'm kind of miffed that him and Roman seem to, like, never really finish their business? Because I know WWE, I guess, has been done with rematches for a while. But, like, I really thought him and Roman were just going to have a one-on-one match that I was really amping myself up for. And it's like, no, he's focusing on Alexa now. And I'm like, that seems like such a downgrade. Like, I don't mind the Fiend being out of the title picture. I actually agree with a lot of people that he can be like an Undertaker Kane character that never has a long, really dominant reign, but he does so much of the stuff outside of the title. But this ain't it, Chief. Like, this ain't it for me. I'm not vibing with this at all. I just don't like it.
It really feels like one of those, like, Vince McMahon, like, flying by the seat of your pants. I don't know what's going to happen next week, but let's try and make this week's show, like, have a cool segment on it. Because it's like, it feels like we're getting a lot of, like, how do I put this? We're getting a lot of sizzle and no steak, I guess. We're getting a lot of, like, Alexa kind of posturing and talking about, like, oh, the Fiend is so great, it's crazy, sends that shiver down your spine and all that stuff, and then, like, the Fiend shows up, and it's like, okay, but now what? And it's like, okay, so we know that Alexa is aligning with the Fiend, but what does that actually mean? Is she going to be Sister Abigail? Is, like, Sister Abigail going to inhabit her body? Is she just going to be, like, a generic Fiend-like heel now? Like, I feel like this is one of those many Vince McMahon storylines where he has a cool idea, but he has no fucking clue where it's going to end up. So he just starts executing the idea that he thinks is cool with no end game in sight, and he ends up losing track, and it ends up taking 6 different left turns that he never thought it would take. And by the end of the whole thing, it looks completely different than what he originally set out for.
Yeah. It really sucks, dude, because I've been loving so much of his stuff. This has got to be the first Fiend thing that I really have just disliked. Because even the Braun stuff, like, I saw the promise in it, and it started to peter off towards the end. But it got there, and I'm like, yeah, that wasn't bad. This is the first one where I'm like, I'm checking out of this. I don't care. And if anything, it's hurting other people because, he had the match with Kevin Owens this past
Well, and
Friday.
that was what we were going to talk about next, was the main event of SmackDown this week, which was the Fiend versus Kevin Owens.
Yeah, and Kevin might turn heel now because he lost to the Fiend via the Mandible Claw. And I didn't want them to give up on Face Owens. I really didn't. And I hope that they have him. But given the track record, right, we don't know. So I don't know what's going to happen with Kevin Owens now. Because he even did an interview recently where he's always frustrated about the draft because he's always picked so low. And he just lost to the Fiend. He didn't get drafted at all in the first round. He didn't get drafted at all in night 1. So if he gets drafted in night 2, it's going to be like, oh, it came so late.
Well, dude, you got to remember, though, they have the pools. Like, it's not like he didn't get drafted on night 1 because he's a low draft pick. He didn't get drafted on night 1 because he wasn't eligible to be drafted on night 1.
That's fair, but if he gets drafted, I'll say this then, if he gets drafted low, and then, with the Fiend thing, I could see that all just being, all the elements coming together, be like, fuck you guys, I'm heel again. I'm be like, I love you because you're a great performer, but okay, let's do it. I really just wish you were still a face. So, I don't know, just, it's really starting to cause collateral damage now, and I'm just not liking any of it.
Yeah, that's fair, man. I know last week after the KO show when the Fiend kind of showed up out of nowhere and attacked Kevin, we did have, like, the weird, like, stare down between Bliss and the Fiend, and then this week, did Bliss even show up at the end of the show? I don't even remember if Bliss showed up.
She did, because the lights went out, and then she showed up on the stage, and her and Brian, I was about to say Brian, her and the Fiend
just staring,
locked eyes, yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
So last week they ended up holding hands. This week they're just staring at each other. So it is like a fucking love story, basically.
Yeah, it's weird, man. I don't know.
All right, I guess we only have one thing left to talk about on SmackDown, and it is the storyline that we have been kind of letting main event our catch-up commentaries every month for a little while now. Sasha and Bayley.
They're still doing quality work. I know I was really turning up and ragging on Sasha. Sasha's one of the best to do it. I think for me, I just really wanted Bayley to get to the year mark as champion, and now that she has, because I think she celebrated 1 year either today. Well, yeah, it might have been today. It might be coming down the road, and I just know she's going to make a year.
I think it's like Monday or Tuesday ish.
Yeah, she's earned it. She's been so fucking good. I just really wanted her to do that, and honestly, it does make sense because Bayley, I mean, look, there's not really much to talk about. She used a chair very early on in the match, got DQ'd. Yeah. Sasha got Bayley back a little bit with a few chair shots, which makes sense. Sasha wants her comeuppance. And then she challenged Bayley later to a Hell in a Cell match because she said, I should have known you were going to try and weasel out of this, Bayley. But you know what? I still want you inside the Hell in a Cell. And they're going to do it. God, I'd love to talk about this now, but one, it's outside the scope, and two, I know we're going to be doing Hell in a Cell preview predictions. But needless to say, this feud has been a masterclass to me with what these guys have done on Twitter, with what they've done on Talking Smack and Raw Talk and just everywhere. Any medium that they've gotten, they've utilized its full potential and gotten the most mileage out of it for this storyline. And I really respect those guys for that. And yeah, they're two of the GOATs in women's wrestling. And WWE better be thanking their fucking stars that they have Sasha and Bayley, because if they didn't have them, to me, like, there are obviously women that I like. Again, we mentioned Ruby and Liv earlier, Shayna, people like that. But you need your cornerstones. You need those people to show you what the potential of any division is and the kind of stories that you can tell. And these guys have been the, Michael Jordan and LeBron James, respectively, like just two great performers that go and they make magic together and they give hope for the rest of the division. Because Stardom as a whole is the best women's wrestling there is. But Sasha and Bayley, I think, are two of the best women's wrestlers in the world, just on an individual level. So WWE is very lucky to have them. Very, very lucky to have them. And yeah, I'm very proud of them both. Just good shit, and I'm still enjoying it all this time later.
Yep. Do we want to just kind of briefly go over some like brand switches that we already know about because of the draft? Like, we've touched on some, but not all yet.
Yeah. Wait, I'm sorry, man. I was reading chat, honestly, about the whole thing about Stockholm Syndrome and everything. Can you say that last part again?
Yeah, since we've already touched on everything as far as like in universe we've already seen over the 2 weeks, do we just want to touch on the draft and like some of the brand changes that we haven't already fully talked about yet?
Yeah, man, because, we already did the Twitch streams and we just got done doing all this. So, yeah, talking about the draft picks, I think, would be a good way to kind of wrap everything up before high spots, low shots. So, yeah.
I only want to talk about the people that are switching because everyone else is staying the same.
Sure.
The first switch is Rollins and Murphy and the Mysterios to SmackDown. And I'm just grouping them all in with each other because it might as well be a fucking package deal at this point. I hate it.
I mean, dude, honestly, and I hate to say it like this, but does it really matter at this point? Because when it was just Seth originally, I'm like, oh, that's so good for him. But now it's like, well, same shit, different brand, at least for the next few months. And yeah. I can't believe I'm saying months, and this has already been going on for months. But fuck me, dude. So, yeah, that's all I got to say about that.
Yeah. What do you think of the Rollins, the new nickname, SmackDown Savior?
I like it. It works. Alliteration and all that. I'm good with it.
Better than Monday Night Messiah?
No, Monday Night Messiah, I would say, is better, but, this does work. And that's just, I think what it needs to do. It just needs to work for where it is. It's on SmackDown, so I'm good with it. But, yeah, Monday Night Messiah was good shit. All
right. Next one is AJ to Raw.
That I definitely like. I think it's good for AJ to have a reset. I think AJ and Drew could have a phenomenal program that could get Drew back on track. I am all for that.
Yeah. I actually forgot to mention this when we were talking about Seth, but this is actually Seth's first time ever being an official member of the SmackDown roster.
That is exciting, man. I'm telling you, they just get past this fucking feud. I think Seth could do really cool stuff, man.
Yeah, Seth's been a Raw exclusive guy for 4 straight years. He's never been exclusive to SmackDown.
Jesus Christ, god damn.
Yeah.
All right.
AJ, in the meantime, has been on both brands, and now he's switching back to Raw. We just talked about that. We also got sort of a switch, Naomi to Raw, Bianca Belair to SmackDown. It's kind of odd to me that they've been building up Bianca on Raw with these like vignettes of her, being the EST, and now she goes to SmackDown. So it's like all of the airtime that Raw has dedicated to her is, in essence, wasted.
Yeah,
Like if
I
you're
do
if
like.
you're a US representative, like a USA Network representative, you're pissed by this.
That is true, and that is fair. I think Bianca though is so talented. I've been on the EST train for a long time. I definitely see her as a future women's champion, and if she doesn't win a title, WWE is wrong in that case to me. The idea of her versus Bayley or her versus Sasha down the road, since they seemingly are going to be on the same brand, I guess for the foreseeable future, we'll see how Monday goes. Is really exciting to me. I think that's a huge win for SmackDown's women's division, so I'm excited for Bianca. Naomi's a bit of a question mark because she's immensely talented. It's not Naomi. It's just the Raw Women's Division already has Asuka, Shayna, as much as I hate to say it has Nia, and they will push Nia. You and I both know that. Ruby and Liv, who may get pushed. Liv, I would say, more than Ruby, unfortunately, even though I think they should both get pushed. I just don't know if Naomi's going to be the odd woman out here, is my point. And Mandy Rose, by the way, who is going to be a pet project.
Yeah, dude, you know what I was thinking? I don't know who Asuka would drop the title to, but maybe Asuka drops the women's title, the Raw women's title, to someone. Again, I don't necessarily know who. Maybe it would be Shayna. I don't know. And then we get Gloska reunited as the next tag team champions.
Dude, I would love that. Like, honestly, if you wanted to kind of lower Asuka on the card a little bit and build Naomi back up, perfect meet in the middle spot for the both of them.
Yeah.
Because I'd love that, dude. I'd assent to that. Absolutely.
I mean, they would have the best entrance on every show.
Dude, absolutely. And honestly, if they were tag champions, you could buy it. I could buy it. I think a lot of people in our chat could buy it. And it's not even necessarily a makeshift team because they had a prior friendship that they're rekindling, which I think is also kind of beautiful in its own way. I'd be totally for that, dude. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Other big moves, the entirety of Otis's supporting cast, his partner, his girlfriend, his rivals, everyone except for Otis is moving to Raw. Any thoughts on that?
Okay. So Miz and Morrison on Raw, I'm excited about, especially if they sever them, because Morrison was actually getting really hot on Raw, in his original WWE run before he pinched the nerve in his neck and just got tired and wanted to do his own stuff and went. And he's even said for interviews he wasn't even supposed to be gone that long, and just things kept falling into his lap. So him on Raw is exciting because that was where some of his best stuff happened. He needs to get the fuck away from the Miz, though. I know that. And I think Morrison and Drew could do some good stuff. I mean, Drew would probably squash him. I'm being honest with myself, but it doesn't mean the matches wouldn't be good. I would, if Morrison was a babyface now, I would love for his Raw debut match back as a singles competitor to be against Andrade, because I just feel like those two have a fucking banger inside of them. Oh, dude, there is one thing I can hope for, no matter how unrealistic it is. Are you ready for this? Morrison gets away from Miz, right? Babyface Morrison feuding with heel AJ. Give it to me. That's my goal now for Morrison's Raw tenure, and AJ and him on the same brand.
Morrison versus AJ, okay.
Because we could still do it, because they were on SmackDown, but they never touched because they were both heel and Morrison was in a tag team. If you just get Morrison away from the Miz and turn him face, or hell, even keep him heel and turn AJ face, I want them to feud. I want them to fight each other. Do it. That's my goal right now. Get it done. So I'm gonna send to that. But just to keep rolling. I'm only going to talk about Otis, because I know you said we're only talking about people that are switching, but this does affect Otis. It's sink or swim time for Otis, because now he can't fall on Tucker anymore. And I'm not even saying he was, but now WWE is going to find out how much value they're getting out of Otis. Tucker is a singles competitor on Raw. I'm not going to lie, I could see that flaming out very quickly. I really don't know where you go with that. I think Tucker has an understated personality, but even when it comes out, I don't think it's going to be enough to close the gap between him and Otis. I think he's just going to be a guy that's on main event in a few weeks. That's just my feeling on it. Do you have anything you want to add to that?
I don't know, man. I almost wonder if Otis is going to try and do something to get himself traded over to Raw,
Maybe.
Because even if it does put him on the same show as Miz and Morrison again, at least then he'd be back with Mandy and Tucker.
Yeah, because he's away from everybody now, and it's
he's literally by himself. He has no support system whatsoever.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Only other big move, though, was the New Day split up, which we already did kind of talk about. I didn't know if you had anything else you wanted to say about that.
You know what? I know some people are bummed out about this, and really I am too, because I love the idea of just the faction being friends and doing their own thing. But now WWE's like, oh, they're going to do their own thing, but they're going to do it away from each other. Doesn't that make you sad? And I'm just doing the manly cry. Yes. So, it sucks. But if Big E becomes Universal Champion because of this, I know that they would be happy about it. So I'm going to try and be happy about it,
the only
too.
acceptable outcome to this is Big E winning the Universal title at WrestleMania so that New Day can still come out and hold him up on their shoulders while he has it.
Yes.
It cannot happen on a SmackDown show anymore.
Yeah, dude, you're absolutely right about that. Oh, dude, the end game was always WrestleMania to me. Oh, absolutely. You bet your ass. So, yeah, if they don't do it that way, they're wrong. It's just that simple. Anything else?
Paul with an interesting observation. Do you think Otis would cash in to win a Raw championship? I almost wonder. I mean, dude, here's the thing. When Otis first won that briefcase, we were talking about, is he going to cash in on a tag team title? Maybe he cashes in on the Raw tag titles with Tucker to try and join the Raw roster. Like he blows the briefcase on a tag title instead of a world title because being with his friend and his girlfriend is more important to him than being a world champion.
Maybe I'm being difficult, but originally I guess I would have been okay with that because it would have been different. But after all this time, that would have kind of taken me off a little bit.
Yeah.
Because, commit, guys. Just give him the match with Roman. Look, if you're going to take everything away, and see, this is what kind of irks me a little bit. And it's not you and it's not anybody, because I understand everybody's just thinking, I don't blame you guys for your thoughts, because WWE doesn't even know what the fuck they want to do. But if WWE is going to take everything away from Otis and then, not push him out of the nest to see if he can fly, fuck you then. Why'd you do it to him then? Either give him the big match with Roman if he can't fall back on Tucker for support and he can't fall back on the angle with Mandy if things with Roman aren't sizzling. If he's got to carry something with Roman, because that's what it should be heading towards, either see if he can do it or don't. Shit or get off the pot. I don't want to see that now. Originally, yeah, I would have been cool with that, but now it just seems like a coward's way out. Face it. Let's see what Otis can do against Roman. That's what I want to see. I don't want to see him win the tag titles with Tucker now, because they're split up. Don't try and contrive it, because we're always talking about hard brand splits, right? Commit to your fucking drafts. Commit to your fucking new rosters now. See what Otis can do. That would just piss me off, honestly.
Chafin actually made a good point too. He could use the cash in on the SmackDown tag titles on Kofi and X, but I don't know. That's face versus face, and that doesn't really make sense to me either.
Yeah, that's weird to me. Unless it was an honorable cash in, then you could kind of get past it, but it's still a face versus face dynamic, which is always going to be weird. Yeah, but you see, though, we're trying to overcomplicate it because we expect WWE to bungle the ball, and we're trying to salvage it. Just do the cash in. Yeah. It's not that fucking hard, WWE. Just do even if he fails, which here's the thing.
Well, and at the same time, though, you say you feel like WWE's going to bungle it, but I feel like they already did by removing everyone from his life.
Yeah, because at least...
And, to me, that's, the fact that they did that tells me that there's going to be... And maybe that's me reading too far into it. But to me, the fact that they put literally everyone that Otis had interacted with in the last 4 months on Raw away from him, to me, that says that there's more to the story than just me cash in briefcase. It's he's going to try and use what little power he has, which is the briefcase, to try and get back reunited with his best friend and his girlfriend.
Yeah, I don't know, dude. I went from being
My question is, do you think he's going to, if he's going to offer a trade himself and the briefcase for one of Miz or Morrison so that, maybe one of those guys gets the briefcase on SmackDown so that SmackDown gets to keep the briefcase and Otis gets to go to Raw without the brief. I feel like there's going to be something like that happening sometime soon.
Yeah, you're probably right. That's so convoluted, though. Jesus Christ. Yeah,
I mean, that's the thing, right. Is the lawsuit hasn't been solved yet. The lawsuit is still they left it hanging in the air this week.
Yeah. This sucks, man. Christ. Yeah, you're probably right. What am I going to say to that? I think it shouldn't be that complicated. I think they should just settle the lawsuit. Otis keeps the briefcase. He's like, you know what? I've lost my friends, but I know they're still supporting me, and they would want me to stand on my own 2 feet and take this chance for myself. So, Roman, I'm challenging you. And again, we really kind of built ourselves up for the idea of Royal Rumble. Royal Rumble has his fucking, dining with kings and queens and, hard times. That was the name of the promo. He has his own hard times promo.
Yeah.
And Roman's just like, yeah, it's cute, but no, I'm the tribal chief. Fuck you. And that's it. It's not that hard. It's not that hard, and I hate that WWE has made it that complicated to get there, and then we might not even be going there at all, in which case, what was the point? Because truthfully, I would have just rather AJ had the briefcase. until he had to be a Butterfingers. Had to be a Butterfingers and drop it into Otis's hands. Oh my god.
Oh man.
Oh god. All right. Anything else?
Now that we've been talking about this whole Otis thing, it almost makes me think like it would be interesting if Otis and Big E handled being separated from their best friends completely opposite. Like Otis breaks down, he does anything in his power to try and get back with his friends because he cares more about them than the briefcase. Big E fucking digs in and he's just like, you know what? They took my friends away from me, so I'm going to do everything that I can to succeed for them.
Right.
And we get the Royal Rumble win. We get Otis doing some stupid shit to try and get back to Raw so that he can be with Tucker and Mandy again, and that whole storyline can continue. And dude, another thing that I was even thinking about is like, even if whatever Otis does doesn't involve splitting up Miz and Morrison, if Miz and Morrison stay on Raw, we've never gotten any major like tag title action between those two teams. So I could very easily see maybe Miz and Morrison beat New Day for the tag titles, or maybe they beat the Street Profits for their tag titles. I don't know how that's going to work. And then we get Miz and Morrison versus Heavy Machinery for the tag titles, because that's not something that we've really gotten, is it? I feel like they've had some matches, but none involving titles, I want to say.
The only time, technically, was Elimination Chamber when Miz and Morrison went into that match as tag champions. And
okay, but not like a straight-up tag team match.
It was not a straight-up tag team match, and it wasn't on a personal level like it would be now, because at the time, I think Otis was still feuding with Dolph Ziggler, if you remember, because that was the whole romance angle.
Yes,
so,
yes.
Yeah.
So so they could still there's still juice to be squeezed out of that storyline. I just don't know what the fuck they're gonna do to get Otis on Raw. Like that seems that's another thing too that's really weird. Is like, why are there two tag team championships on Raw right now? Are they really going to combine them and just have like a unified tag title that can cross brands?
Yeah, that could be, because I've heard talk about that too. Like, oh, we're just gonna have tag titles, just one tag title conglomerate kind of thing, and we can just go wherever we want. And I guess that'd be cool. They just need to figure their shit out, man. Because like, even talking about all this, I'm gonna be honest with you, is giving me a headache. And it's like WWE needs to figure this shit out so that we can follow the narrative and just not have to do all this detective work. Yeah. Like, wrestling shouldn't be this kind of detective work, you know? I mean,
it probably doesn't help that we're doing this in the middle of a draft, because the draft doesn't end until Monday. So like, we're just like, okay, we're not even really halfway through the draft yet, because there are like, I think 39 people eligible to be drafted on Monday, and there were 25 eligible to be drafted yesterday. So we're like, 40%, if that, through the draft at this point, and we're trying to do our best to kind of piece everything together. But like, it's like we don't have a full idea of what the puzzle actually looks like yet.
Right. Yeah, I guess we'll see, man. But anything else beyond this, or can we get to our next segment?
Let's go.
All right, high spots and low shots. God damn. Low shot for me. God, it's weird, because I could go from like a draft perspective or just a more straightforward win-loss perspective. I guess. Oh God, this is hard, because on one way I do want to say New Day, because they got split up, but they did win the tag titles, so it's kind of weird, right?
And Big E beat Sheamus in that Falls Count Anywhere match too.
Yeah, you know what though? I think just because of everything we talked about, Otis. Yeah. I'll just go Otis.
That's a good call.
Everything, and he's still in the lawsuit. So yeah, he has no support system, and he's still in a legal battle for the thing that he, even if he did win.
The only thing he has left, really.
Yeah, the briefcase. He's got to hold on to that title than ever. And after all of our conjecture, he may not even do that, because he might be like, you know what? I'm going to cash this in on friendship, and then I'm going to want to dig my eyes out with my bitten down fingernails. So, yeah, Otis is my low shot, because everything is pain. Who's your low shot, friend?
My low shot is Zelina Vega. And because this doesn't technically include Clash of Champions, I can't say anything about that, but she did lose there. And then she lost a rematch that she didn't even have to earn against Asuka the night after. And then she was a part of the losing team on Raw this week. And then Andrade proceeded to basically say, like, hey, she is not able to get anything done on her own. I'm the real success story out of this group. And then he lost too. So what does that say about Zelina if the success out of the group that she was supposed to have led still can't fucking succeed?
Really sucks, doesn't it?
Yeah. Talk about being the Janetti to a Janetti. Holy shit.
Okay. High spot. You know what? I gotta thank Dominique Adams for this. I gotta thank your face for this. I gotta thank all the positivity for this. My high spot's Mustafa Ali.
Ha, thumbs up, big time.
Yeah. Good for him. Good for him. I stand by my reservations just in the sense that I think I was coming from an understandable place. But you guys made me think, like, you know, John, yeah, but, like, I don't know, dude, open your heart a little. And I'm like, okay, yeah. He's a really talented dude, future WWE champion, packing this heat with this gimmick. It's really about time. It's really about time. He's a good-natured dude. They're so fucking pure. And then God knows, with the more depressing parts of this catch-up commentary, we need role models in this business. We need people in this business. I'm not asking to be like Christ figures, but to just lead by fucking example. And Mustafa Ali, for the time being, is leading by example, and you fucking love to see it. So, yeah, this dude's a high spot in wrestling and in life. He's got everything going for him right now, as he fucking should. So, Mustafa Ali is my high spot.
Yeah, you know what, dude? I'm trying to rack my brain to try and find something. Nothing comes even close. I'm with you. It's Ali. Ali is the quintessential high spot for this 2-week sample size. He really has had one hell of a coming out party here. I'm really happy for the guy.
I'm really happy for him too, dude. I'm happy that we could end this on a really positive note talking about a good dude.
Yeah.
God, that heartens my fucking soul.
Yeah, like, it's like all the shit and all the terribleness and all of the, like, fucking corporate bullshit that we've talked about tonight. And we get to close on just a genuinely fucking good person.
I know. And, like, he's reaching his hand out and he's like, take it and I'll show you everything that's good about wrestling. And I'm like, yes, Daddy Ali, yes. Do it. So, yeah, okay. With that said, guys, this has been Catch Up Commentary. This has been TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John. That's my co-ordinator commentary, Ashton. Guys, be sure to like the video as you file out. Be sure to comment down below when it's done processing. Talk to us. I could come up with multiple questions here. What are your thoughts so far on the WWE draft? Who has been your high spot and low shot the last 2 weeks of WWE programming? I know Chiefin got ahead of it, and he kind of already gave his answer in the chat. What do you see as the future of Otis, Tucker, New Day, just all the people that got separated? Who do you really hope thrives in the draft, and who do you hope gets drafted, in part 2 as we look ahead to Monday Night Raw? Again, talk to us. Subscribe, click the bell icon for notifications so you never again miss any of that TWitWoW goodness. And be sure to check out everything we're involved in down below in the description box. When it comes to the TWitWoW Patreon, we do have a Q&A coming up. It is October 10th, 16 minutes away from being October 11th. Our next Q&A is October 29th, 2 days before Halloween. So you've got well over 2 weeks. The window's still open a nice size. A lot of cute little birds can fly in, nice and peaceful. But, they better fly in and get what they can because, just like that, the door will shut. So get your questions in. If you're a non-Patreon donor, I want you to know you only get 3 Q&A questions. But good news, for the cost of only $1, for those of you that have donated for the month of October, you can get up to 5 Q&A questions. For those of you that are like, damn, I didn't do that. That's okay. You donate $1, it carries over to November Q&A. You'd get 5 questions. That's how you get more questions, for Q&As. Donate to the Patreon. While you're there, if you go $3, not only you get 5 Q&A questions, you get access to the TWitWoW Discord, which has some of the chillest and most wonderful motherfuckers in the wrestling sphere. So definitely check that out. It's a great place to be. A lot of positivity, a lot of love. And when I do occasionally come in, I'm usually doped up on my own happiness and bullshit. I send out a lot of hug emojis. So if that sounds like your language, you know where to find us. So be sure to check out everything we're involved in. As I said, we even Twitched recently, or Twitch streamed, I should say, more grammatically correct, this past Friday discussing the draft.
I mean, I'm pretty sure I was twitching about midway through that stream.
Yeah, definitely. I dealt with a Twitch several months ago. I was actually really concerned that I was having a neurodegenerative problem, but thankfully I wasn't. I just had to really hydrate and calm the fuck down. Does wonders for you guys. And so, yeah, we Twitch streamed this past Friday. It was chill shit. Subscribe to our Twitch stream. Catch up when we Twitch more in the future, because I'm sure, we'll definitely be doing that this Monday, actually, for part 2 of the draft. Mm-hmm. Hopefully it doesn't suck, because that's 3 hours versus 2 hours. Yay! More wrestling equals more fun, except when it's not. Yay! So, yeah, that's going to be Monday at 8. But in the near future, if you guys are like, man, this was kind of depressing, kind of hopeful, kind of socio-political. What the fuck? I'd like something a bit more focused, please. We got you. I hear you. I'd like to be more focused too. I'm all over the place. I know my problems, but we're still covering G1. We're covering B Block tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern time. And you know what we're going to be covering? We're going to be covering the sweetest fucking boy in professional wrestling, Juice Robinson, facing Sonata. You know what we're going to be covering? We're going to be covering fucking Evil, hopefully losing to Naito, but probably not, though. But it's okay, though, because Naito stay winning because he's the fucking workhorse of the B Block. And we're going to be covering a lot more. So join us at 6 tomorrow. It's going to be a fun time. It's going to be a chill time. And yeah, that's all I can think to plug. And I actually outro here. So I'm not going to volley it to Ashton, which is unfortunate because I know I'm dragging this on way too long. But I will close it by saying, you're all beautiful. Take care of yourselves out there. The world is on fucking fire. Hope you're taking care of yourselves out there. However you do it is totally valid. No judgment. And hope to see you tomorrow for our G1 Climax stream. We're going to go off. We're probably going to get mad at Rocket League because bots are better than us at car soccer, which seems totally fucking unfair. And then hopefully get in a horror movie in or two, which I hope you guys are doing the same, even though I understand if not, because reality is fucking terrifying enough as it is. So, with all that said, tune in, and as always, my friends, peace out.